that, life is just way more expected under theism than it is under naturalism.
Yeah, that's right.
I guess I would ask you, what do you mean by expected?
That's, I mean, that depends on some broader theory, some broader commitments in terms of probability theory, but we can just say that it sort of renders the observation more likely. So in the same way that, like, if there are two competing theories and trying to explain some data, and the data is, I don't know, there's mouse droppings in my basement, it's more expected on the theory that there's a mouse in my basement that we would see mouse droppings, because it makes it more likely that there's mouse droppings in my basement. Or, in the context of like somebody committing a crime, it's more likely that we would find their fingerprints at the scene of the crime if they did indeed commit the crime than on the alternative theory that they didn't.
And this is based on how incredibly low the probability is that like all of the things that would need to align in order for life to exist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I guess, can I ask you, do you think God is necessary?
I don't think so. I don't think God is metaphysically or logically necessary.
Okay, so you don't think so. What explains the existence of God then?
It depends on what you mean by, like, I don't think that there's, I don't know that I think that there's like a further explanation for God's existence.
But it's not like, I don't want to conflate the terms, but would you say that God is not contingent on anything?
It depends on what you mean by contingent. I'm not committed to any specific view there, but I think there's I think on most views where God's necessary, it runs into some problems. And I don't think that God's contingency runs into the same problems. I think it might be something like a brute contingency.
Yeah.
I guess I would say that, like, okay, let me ask you this. Do you think that God is the cause of the entire universe?
Yeah, like theism is committed to that, yeah.
Okay. So I would say that God has certain attributes then that would be the reason for why the universe has the qualities that it has. And I think that it's completely arbitrary as to why God has those particular qualities instead of another one, because if he had different qualities, he would render the universe differently. And so it seems like God is finely tuned, but I would say that that's less likely that God is this finely tuned than if God just doesn't exist at all.
Well, I think we need to hold like a quick council to get this sorted out. I'm pretty sure we're here affirming like perfect being theism. So we could just say like God's properties are a result of them being like the maximally valuable properties to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that what you need to, I think God is a fairly simple theory. It's fairly, or at least it's not complex in the way that really hurts the prior probability. So I think that God is something like just an unlimited mind, or an all-powerful, all-knowing, all-good being, right? And from that fairly minimal description, I think that it's at least fairly likely that we would get the existence of life and fine-tune it.
Are you saying that, like, the qualities of God are in some sense dependent on each other in being maximally perfect? Because otherwise I feel like it's still arbitrary, the fact that God would have like maximally good or maximally powerful or whatever perfect attributes.
It depends what you mean by arbitrary. I mean, I don't think that there's some further explanation than just that's what it is to be God. So in that sense, maybe it's arbitrary, but in the same way that like any theory is going to have some, arbitrary in that sense commitments.
I guess when you say perfection or maximally powerful and that stuff, like all of that it only means something as far as like we're concerned. Like perfection only matters because we notice like our attributes, and we notice that God is perfect in comparison to the attributes that we have or that we see around us.
I don't know about all that. If you're saying something like, perfection only means something, when there are agents, because agents are the only things that like something can mean something to. I think that's true. But if you're saying something further than that, I'm not sure.
Well, I just mean like if you drew a royal flush in poker, you would say this is the perfect hand, and that's because we're playing the game. But as it is just like a randomly drawn hand, it doesn't have any inherent qualities that I would call perfect, except in relation to the game that we're playing.
Sure. Yeah.
So if God didn't create, if God didn't create a universe that was like less perfect in some sense than we are, then we wouldn't have a concept of the same perfection. Or if he was finely tuned in a different way, we would see that as perfection instead of what he actually is.
Well, wait, but he's not really like finely tuned, right? It's very simple. You know, God is a maximally great being insofar as what that means is that he's like maximally valuable. You know, he has like infinite knowledge, which of course means that he knows all of the moral facts, which of course means, and because he's like, you know, rational, he's a rational agent, that means that he's going to act on them. He's not going to act against them. So he's just going to do like the maximally good thing.
I guess, yeah. Let me. I think I may be making an assumption here. Do you believe that the universe is kind of like the best of all possible worlds?
I don't know. I don't know if we're committed to that.
Yeah, I think so. I think that God's creation is the best possible creation. I think that there's a couple of things. I think that God's creation, considered in its entirety, is the best creation God could have created.
Yeah.
But I think that, you know, there's a very small region of God's creation that we have access to. So I think that if what you mean by the universe is sort of the fullness of God's creation, then yes. But if it's more specific, then no.
Yeah, right. Like surely like heaven is going to be a much better environment once we're all there. But, you know, the greatness of heaven is contingent upon the experiences that we have here.
Yeah. But I mean, do you think that I guess I'm getting towards like, do you think the universe could be a different way and still be maximally good?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
Again, if the universe means like the fullness of God's creation, then no.
So then it seems like the fine-tunedness of the universe is wholly dependent on like God's attributes and being perfect.
Wait, run that one back. I think I missed that.
I'm not sure I get exactly what you're saying there.
So if God is maximally perfect and the universe is the only way that it could possibly be based on God's maximal perfection, then it's inherently dependent. How like fine-tuned the universe is inherently dependent on God's qualities, because it couldn't be any other way. If God was a different way or less perfect, then the universe surely would be different.
If you're just saying that the universe couldn't be like the fact that the universe is the way that it is a consequence of facts about God, I think we agree with that.
Yeah. And that like
Yes.
given like this God with these properties, like he wouldn't produce a different universe. Yeah, like
Yeah, so given this God with these properties, he wouldn't produce a different universe. Therefore, it seems like the likelihood, like of all possible gods and all possible universes, we have a very finely tuned one. Like, I guess I'm just tying universe and God, like those two things together, because the universe could not be any other way with this God that we have. And therefore, that's why I would say that God appears to be finely tuned, because it couldn't be any other way.
Asymmetry. So I think that if the idea, tell me if this is what you're saying, if the idea is something like, if you think that it's unlikely that we would have a universe like this because of all the possible universes, this is, you know, only a very, very tiny sliver, right? Then you should think that it's very unlikely that we would have a God that would create a universe like this because of all of the possible gods. It's only a very tiny sliver. Is that something like what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much, because God has a bunch of different properties and attributes, and they could be different. We just have the maximally perfect one.
Yeah, I think that we should just think that maximal perfection and the maximal values of something, or you know, infinite goodness has a higher probability than any finite number. And I think that maybe here's an analogy to understand that. I think that we should have a higher prior probability in the universe being past infinite than in the universe being, you know, 10 gorbillion, 8 1,632 years old, right? I think that sort of the maximal value or infinite values are going to have a higher prior probability because I think they're simpler than any of these finite values. And similarly, I think that we should think that a God who knows all true facts is more likely than a God who knows all the true facts, except for, some trivial mathematical fact, like, God knows all of the worldly facts except 2 + 2. He just doesn't know that for some reason. I think
he failed his algebra class. It's a real struggle.
Yeah.
It's like a real sore point for him.
Are you saying that God didn't create the universe then because it's infinite?
No. All I'm saying here is I think that God is a sort of simple theory, and for that reason is going to have a higher prior probability.
Well, I think that we witness in nature that simplicity is less likely inherently than complexity, and imperfection is more likely than perfection.
Well, but in terms of like a metaphysical theory, we should be preferring simplicity for the explanations as opposed to like a complex metaphysical explanation. That's just Occam's razor. We should be getting rid of like the non-necessary elements.
I guess I would push back and say then that I don't see how it's simple to be perfect.
I guess, do you think that so here's 2 theories. Theory 1 is there is a being with almost all knowledge, except he doesn't know one mathematical fact, like 5 times 5, or the second being is a being who knows all of the true facts. Do you think that the second being is simpler than the first? So I think it just sort of has to be that second being is simpler than the first.
I certainly agree that it's semantically simpler. Off cusp, it sounds like it's simpler metaphysically, but I guess I would need, I don't know. Let me think. Hold on. I just don't know why. Like, what do you mean by simple? I guess. I mean, is that too nitpicky?
No. I mean, there's competing theories of simplicity, but I think that on most of them, and on the sort of theory that's going to be relevant for assigning prior probabilities, I think that it just has to turn out that that it's at least going to be moderately simple to posit that some measure has an unlimited value, because I think that you should, like, if your theory of simplicity doesn't let you say that the theory that the past is infinite is simpler than the theory that the past is, 10 trillion years and 368 years or whatever, then I think that's just like that's going to be an important desiderata of any theory of simplicity is going to be that it renders that first thing simpler than that second. On my view.
Yeah, I guess I would ask does it seem simpler that a being would know 10 billion facts, or that a being would know an infinite number of facts?
Infinite number.
Yeah, I think certainly an arbitrary 10 billion, or just any, 10 billion facts, I think.
Why would you say that that's simpler?
That's going to be more complex, is what I'm... The infinite is simpler?
Yeah, because, I mean, it's less stuff. So
yeah, I just think you should think that simplicity is just has to do with like ontological commitments, right? Because then the simplest theory is just going to be there's like one, like you're ontologically committed to one thing, and that's the only thing, you have to find some sort of way to explain all of this other stuff. I think that we should think about simplicity in any of these other ways, right? There's lots of theories of simplicity. But I think theories on which simplicity just has to do with ontological posits, it's going to render like any finite number of, or any finite past, like infinitely more more simple than an infinite past, because an infinite past is going to be infinitely more ontologically committing, and that's going to be a problem. I think there's just lots of problems with thinking about simplicity purely in terms of ontological commitment.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if you, think about it like this, right? How many things would you need to like brute posit to explain the fact that it knows like 10 million things, and like these specific 10 million things? Well, that sounds like pretty non-trivial. But like to explain the fact that a being knows everything, well, all it needs is the property of being all-knowing.
So that feels kind of like the like ontological simplicity as well, because you're just saying there's this one thing versus like more things explaining it.
Wait, say it again.
Like you're saying we have one fact numerically that can explain him knowing everything, versus we would have to have multiple facts to explain why he knows certain things and not other things.
Fuck, Charsky, what's our model of simplicity again?
That's a good question. I don't think we have to be committed to. I think all you need here is just to think that that infinites are going to be at least not crazy less simple than finites, and that for the theories that posit like an infinite value to some of the relevant measures are going to be simple in the way that matters. And I think that's just going to be true of any sufficient theory of simplicity. Because again, I just think it can't be true that a theory that posits an infinite past has like the same prior as a theory that posits that the past is some arbitrary, length. I think that like any like I'm just not gonna. I think a view where that's not true, or where the relevant measure of simplicity doesn't get that right, is going to be a view that I reject. But it seems like the most reasonable explanation for that is just that putting an infinite value in there is not a crazy hit to simplicity.
Okay, let me ask you this way: would you say it would be simpler for a being to know one fact, or for a being to know infinite facts?
It's a tough question.
Yeah, I think here, I mean, it depends on your theory of simplicity, but I think that they're going to be there's not going to be a huge gulf between them, and it depends on the context. Also, sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear. My dogs are freaking out, but
that's okay.
Back to Cody.
Wait, Charsky, why do you Oh, sorry. Wait, you're gonna go take care of your dogs?
Yeah, I can like half mic up, but I'll have
no,
to.
that's fine. Go do what you gotta do. Yeah, I'll try my hand. What's the problem with just like ontological simplicity?
Well, I think that that Hegel was saying, I don't know what his Trotsky says his name is.
Chorsky. Or Hegel fan is fine, either one of those.
Hegel fan, okay. I think that Hegel fan was saying that we don't want to commit ourselves to ontological simplicity because in the view of knowing a billion facts instead of infinite facts, ontologically it would be simpler to know a certain number of facts instead of an infinite number of facts.
I think that comes down to a question of like, what is this grounded in? Like, if the grounding for the knowledge of infinite facts is like one simple property, which is just like maximal knowledge, the perfect amount of knowledge, then that, like with just one property, will perfectly explain the infinite facts, whereas you might be needing to do like 10 billion brute posits to explain why there's 10 billion facts and no more.
Well, I would say that there could still be an infinite number of facts. You just have a God that doesn't know all of those facts, unless your version of God is just
like maximally perfect is my version. He has one simple property, and it's like maximal perfection, the most valuable being, which means that he's going to have like the most knowledge. It's better to have more knowledge than to have less. What that also means is that it's going to be, he's going to know all the moral facts, so he's going to be all good, because he's, always going to act in like rational ways.
So, yeah, this may clear it up. Do you think that the God that exists is the only possible God that could exist?
I think Charsky and I might differ on this, but I think I would say that God is necessary, and that this is like this is the maximally perfect being.
Okay. Does God have properties aside from just being maximally perfect?
All of his properties stem back to his maximum perfection.
Okay. So you could say like in a sort of Bayesian way, I guess there's like 50-50 chance of God being maximally perfect or God being not maximally perfect.
No. I mean, the problem is that, God by his definition is going to be like a maximally perfect being.
I see. Okay.
Just like he's like an infinite being.
That makes sense. So God's properties would all stem from his perfection. And if the fine-tuning of the universe stems from his properties, then you could say the fine-tuning of the universe just stems from his perfection.
Yes, correct.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I think that's a fair point. I do think fine-tuning is decent, but it's pretty destroyed. There's this really good atheist that I listen to sometimes. He's got some like electrons and love argument or something like that, but
yeah,
I couldn't possibly try to reenact that. But
you must be thinking of Neil Sinababo, the originator of the electrons and love argument.
I think allegedly Neil.
Sure.
That what he goes by. Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I guess you guys have thoroughly destroyed me, so I'll probably have to convert to Theism.
Hey,
Let's go.
Well, no, it was like a really fun discussion. I appreciate it. I appreciate you not just like coming up here and like trolling.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm testing yourself. Iron sharpens iron. Like they say in the Bible.
That's great. Well, I appreciate that. This guy has heaven to look forward to, unless he does like weird stuff in his personal life, in which case he might be a gazelle.
Indeed. I feel bad because I don't know. Maybe next year we'll have to iron out all of our commitments in terms of what is it, Gaunt? Yeah, Gaunt. Yeah. All of the commitments of nondescript theism. Because have we talked about the sort of modal problems with people where if God is necessary, then you have to either say that God is like, it just seems like there are some possible worlds that are incompatible with God's existence. And so you're going to either have to jerry rig some reason why those possible worlds aren't actually possible, or you're going to have to say that God's existence is like compatible with, the conveyor belt of infant torture.
Yeah. Well, maybe you could say, maybe you just be like a necessitarian about it. I don't know what the problem with necessitarianism is, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, there's
people seem to like fucking hate it. Like a lot of philosophers, like Humer, for example, is like very opposed to it. Although I don't understand why. I'm not sure what the problem is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's lots of things that people want to say. One issue is just that it seems like it might not be like it seems like we are going to want some way to distinguish certain. Like I want to be able to get the group of things that people want to say are contingent things. There's people want to agree on at least a lot of that. And we want some category for those things that has to do with their sort of modal status. And if we just get rid of that, it seems like you're just not, not playing the game or whatever. Right. That's one worry. I mean,
maybe you could cash that stuff out in like epistemic possibility.
Yeah. Also, I just really do have this strong intuition that things could have been different, that Biden could have lost the 2020 election or something like that.
Yeah, or the 2024. People don't know.
True. That it just seems like modal, like use of modal language and talking about, genuinely different possibilities is like really central to a lot of the way that a lot of people think.
Do you think it would be possible to say like, okay, God is necessary in his existence, and then he creates like beings who have free will, and then the contingency is like ultimately grounded in like the free will?
No, I don't think that's crazy. I mean, I think a lot of people want to say that there are genuinely alternative possible worlds as a result of decisions that people make, right? That like if you're a theist and you believe in libertarian free will, it seems like you are going to want to say that there are genuinely other possible worlds where people decide different, like John Wilkes Booth decides not to pull the trigger as a genuinely possible world or whatever.
Sure.
It seems like if you believe in the principle of alternative possibilities, then you're going to think that, also some theists want to say that God's creation isn't necessary, or that God could have done differently. But if you think, God's creation was necessary, but we have free will, libertarian free will, then yeah, you're going to think that there are these other possible worlds as a result of our free choices. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. I suppose that makes sense. Yeah. All right. Hey, if you're in that guest request box, make sure that you're 18 or older. Make sure that you believe in the God, or sorry, no, make sure you don't do the opposite, that you don't believe in God. Make sure that you're not doing that. That will go to the very next guest.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, how's it going? How old are you?
I'm 20 actually.
Okay, and do you think that God exists?
I'll be defending the position that God does not exist. Actually,
Is this
I'll be
Apollo?
actually arguing the game.
It is Apollo, I believe. What's
It's
good?
me. Yeah, my other account got banned for like 2 days, I guess. So like in the next 2 days, I can go back on panels. But I like I said in the comments you're almost there because I'm actually a necessitarian. You're almost there on the epistemic possibility stuff, but I could push back against it. But for the time being, I could just devil's advocate, run like something against the fine-tuning argument, and then see what you guys' responses actually are. So yeah. So
Sure,
guys
do you want
asked
us-
about
Yeah, just allow us to like lay out the
Before you do-
argument first. You know, we got this chart, this chart, this chart, this chart, and this chart. That means
You
God
want- I'm
exists.
I'm not reading
so-
all that, dude.
Yeah.
But what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do this. So you guys would agree that God is maximally powerful because you guys believe God is maximally perfect, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, got you. So being maximally powerful just entails being able to actualize all logical possibilities, correct?
Sure. Like every like metaphysically possible state of affairs.
Okay, and so that means God has to be necessary given you guys' old position, right? Like if God is omnipotent, then God has to be necessary.
Sure. I
I'm
mean,
not sure that
this-
follows, but
oh, okay,
we can-
sure.
yeah.
Well, I mean, if you want to push back
Well,
against that, then go for it.
Yeah, sure, we can talk about it, right? So if it is the case you don't believe it follows, then and you believe that God is able to actualize all phenomena which are metaphysically and logically possible, then let's think of a case scenario where God does not exist. And in that case scenario, it's a possibility. That means it's going to be the case that in that world where there are sort of possibilities that God does not exist within, then those possibilities will not be actualized by God because God does not even exist in that world to begin with.
Is the idea just that if you don't think God is necessary, if you think there are possible worlds where God doesn't exist, then you think that there are sort of possible states of affairs that God can't, logically possible states of affairs that God can't actualize?
Yep. Of course, definitely. So, like, for example, it is not possible for your mom. Let's just like stipulate that your mom remains the same thing in this other given world. But it is the case, however, that in this other world, your mom does not exist. It would not be possible for your mom to have causal power in a world where she does not exist.
Sure, yeah. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear the dogs, but
It's cool. It's okay. I have like a worse background than this. I'm like outside currently.
Wait, do you
but
have
outside of-
Apollo? Do you have? You're like a bit quieter than Charsky is. Do you have like a microphone? Or if your headphones are in, maybe like
I can
unplug
go
them.
closer. Is this better?
Much better, thank you.
Okay, gotcha, cool. So, as it pertains to what I was talking about, really, yeah, so of course, it has to be the case that if God is omnipotent, then God is necessary. If you don't believe God is necessary, then there are obvious contradictions. And the reason I'm establishing this point is primarily because with the other guest, he never really pushed back that well on that point, and you kind of was like saying, and by you, I'm talking about Charsky, you're like kind of agnostic on that position, so I'm just pushing you into, basically having an affirmative position on the given matter.
Sure, yeah. I don't have super worked out thoughts on God's necessity, but yeah, we can
Sure.
stipulate these
So let's just go with the fine-tuning argument. So I have very strong objections to basically every theistic argument because I think to be the best theistic debater, you have to know like all the atheistic arguments inside out. For the fine-tuning argument, if you're going to be appealing to high priors, someone can just affirm the conditional sentence, which goes like this. If a mind exists, then it is probably embodied, and that's more expected under naturalism than theism. So where someone can steelman the idea that a life existent conditions is more expected under theism, that's just one specific data. But when you consider another piece of data, that's going to be strong evidence in favor of naturalism over theism. So which data is going to have a higher degree of probabilistic influence in the possibility space? Is it going to be the life expectancy conditions data, or is it going to be the data pertaining to psychological profiles being embodied by physical, you could say, actualizations in the real world?
Is what you're saying just that there's alternative evidence, there's other evidence that's strong evidence for naturalism, and then the evidence
definitely.
here is that all of the minds we've encountered are embodied, and so we have this super high prior on any given mind being embodied.
Yeah, definitely, basically, yeah.
Yeah, I just think that, I think that's probably, I think we should have a pretty high, like from, behind the veil, you're given for any given mind, you should think it's probably embodied. I think that's probably true. I just think that it doesn't seem like this gets past like even the more moderate.
It's an undercut in the feeder, right? It's an undercut in argument. So the whole point of me mentioning this is to establish that the fine-tune an argument is not sufficient or adequate to establishing why God exists, because of another piece of data which undercuts this or has the same level of epistemic impact on the disagreement, you know, that we're talking about.
I'm just not sure that it would have the same level of epistemic impact. Like, if you buy that it's like, you know, the likelihood of our universe on naturalism is 1 in 10 to the 36th or whatever, it doesn't seem like the likelihood of a disembodied mind is going to be, you know, 1 in 10 to the 136th or whatever. I think that's the. I think
okay,
that's the
but
number.
just a second, right? So what I can just respond to this by saying, like, if you want to make that argument, I can then just extend the argument by then saying, okay, if we combine the minerals hypothesis alongside this given inductive evidence about minds existing and the correlation between minds existing and physical embodiment, then it's going to be the case that I think that specific conjunction is going to be more likely to be true than you affirming that there's this omnipotent, omniscient creator that has all-knowing properties and is going to exist as a result of the life expectancy conditions you believe to be evidence in favor of Theism being the case, right?
So you're saying many worlds and
yeah,
embodied mind.
There's no specific, there's not sufficient evidence, there's not conclusive evidence in quantum mechanics which overrules the many worlds interpretation. In fact, a lot of quantum physicists are like starting to like push towards that idea. Not saying it's like the most popular position. I'm not sure what the statistics are insofar as the popularity of that position, but it's pretty goddamn popular currently, right?
Yeah, it's certainly not like off the table, is my understanding.
Yeah. Wait, but there's like a caveat there, which is that like under many worlds, the many worlds are inside of one wave function, and that wave function evolves in accordance with the same Hamiltonian, which is going to confer the same laws of physics upon all of these universes.
Right. So the idea is that.
Oh, you're saying the laws of physics. So you're saying, given the many worlds interpretation, you're saying necessarily speaking, the laws of physics have to be the same across all the possible worlds?
If I'm understanding your question correctly, yeah. Insofar as like the many worlds interpretation is claiming there's like one universal wave function, but what determines the laws of physics is just the derivative of the wave function. It's you know, the Schrödinger equation is what describes like the evolution of the wave function.
Okay, sure. So when I've read upon like minerals interpretation and so forth, I'm not sure if I've ever seen something which establishes that the laws of physics or the dispositions have to remain the same. But that's just one specific alternative hypothesis that one could posit, right? I don't want to be that guy where I'm going to be asking for the sources because they'll just.
I could give you them. Like for example,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's Sean Carroll's what is it? Something Deeply Hidden. That's the name of the book.
I'll look into. You forgot the name of the book or something? You can just check it later on or something.
No. That's what the name of it is. Something deeply hidden. The book is titled Something Deeply Hidden.
I thought you were
Yeah.
like saying something else. Gotcha.
No, you're good.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. Okay, cool. So I was just gonna say that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Is this like a view which is agreed upon by the vast majority of physicists, or is it just like Sean Carroll specifically?
Well, what the view specifically is, like, this just is what the many worlds interpretation is that there is only like one universal wave function that, okay, how much do you know about the many worlds interpretation? I'm happy to explain or like go into detail about it.
Just a surface level understanding of many worlds interpretation. I haven't touched on quantum mechanics in a pretty goddamn while.
Okay, sure. So, you know, let's say that we have, we're about to measure either spin up or spin down on this electron. Well, in that sense, when we're standing there, you know, when we actually take that measurement, we get entangled. We enter into like the superposition with that it was in like superposition spin up and spin down, and then we see it either spin up or spin down. In the spin up world, you know, we are now in that superposition with it. Same thing with the spin down world. So yeah. That's like, you can kind of like expand that out. Like when something interacts with a quantum system, you know, it gets entangled with it. So whenever there's like a quantum outcome, there's just like branching of it, but it's all under like the same wave function. The same wave function is going to hold the same Schrödinger equation, and the Schrödinger equation describes how the universe evolves. So necessarily it's going to have like the same laws of physics.
Yeah, of course, because equations in physics is just going to be descriptive of the laws of physics. And so if the Schrödinger equation is going to be the same thing under spin up, spin down, because it is a branching of the same wave function, then you're saying that of course it's going to be the case. The laws of physics is going to be the type of thing which has to remain the same because of that given thing.
Basically, yeah, you got it.
I could be like I could be skeptical of the sort of infallibility and so forth, the infallibility of mathematical equations over other stuff like the laws of physics.
Could you elaborate on that? Or
Well,
wait,
what
is
I'm-
this still
yeah,
in the
sorry,
vein?
there
Is
was,
this
like-
still in the vein of many worlds, or is this in
You
like
say
a?
sorry?
Is this in the vein of many worlds, or is this like a separate argument? Just to track
Well,
properly.
it's talking about many worlds interpretation, but it's a bit more than just many worlds interpretation.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
It's like, yeah. So I was saying specifically that it is still talking about many worlds interpretation, but it's specifically talking about primarily just the nature of, or the role of mathematical equations in describing the laws of physics, and whether or not we could have like some particular quote-unquote law of physics which is not yet mathematically modelable, right? Because we know, for example, there are non-computable systems in the physical world, right? And non-computable systems, by definition, would not be mathematically modelable. And so if there are physical non-computable systems which are not mathematically modelable, then it doesn't seem to be necessarily the case that for any given physical system, there has to be a mathematical equation such that it is descriptive of that given thing. So maybe it could be the case we have some given thing which is branching off from this same wave function, which is non-computable, such that there's not going to be a mathematical equation which models that given law of physics or set of laws of physics, which gives us this disposition to believe in our disposition towards life expecting conditions, right?
So
I can
the
go into like non-computability and algorithm stuff if you want me to, but you can.
Oh no,
respond.
I'm familiar with like non-computability. That some things are uncomputable. The problem in this sense is that all a wave function is it's a vector in Hilbert space. So you know, for
Familiar with
any
Hilbert
wave
space.
function,
I've seen Sean Crawl stuff in Hilbert space, but I understand the vector part. Yeah, but I'm saying that like, I'm not sure if. So, do you believe that necessarily speaking, that given the nature of Hilbert space, it has to be computable?
what would be the thing that's being computed here?
We're talking specifically about like the laws of physics, which are going to be, or the nature of the physical world, which is going to be branching out from the wave functions as you referenced in previously, right? So I'm asking you, like, do you?
I mean, it would
do
be
you
like
believe there has to be
determinant.
like some mathematical mod? It's deterministic. You think it has to be deterministic?
Yeah, under the many worlds interpretation, yes.
Okay, so I'm not sure. So I'm agnostic on the prop that it has to be deterministic, like in the sense where it's logically necessarily deterministic, right? I don't think that, like, for example, given the definition or the necessary conditions of the many worlds interpretation, there has to be a deterministic function output. Sorry, but even if, like, I think this is like one of the most trivial disputes, to be honest. I think there's another objection I can give, but before I give
Sure.
that objection, you
Sure.
can give the response to this if you want me to. I can just give the other objection because this is kind of like, I think this is something which is it's going to go into like some deep esoteric mathematical stuff. To be honest, the other objection I could give to the fine-tuning argument is just like basic appeal to natural laws or disposition. I could say there's some undiscovered laws of physics such that it is disposed to create in life expecting conditions. And so it's going to bake into naturalism that it would in fact be the case that we would see the life expecting conditions that we're observing in the real world, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
That's a simpler objection than the
Yeah.
many worlds interpretation stuff.
Sure, yeah. I also, I mean, there's another worry about many worlds that Proust gives, which is just that it seems like on multiverse theories where you have the varying of the constants and initial conditions, the vast majority of observers are going to be Boltzmann brains, and that's obviously a problem. We don't want, like, if your theory gets it so that gets you to most observers being Boltzmann brains.
Yeah,
that's
so
a
how would
problem.
you
But
respond to, how did any of you guys respond to that one? Sorry to cut you off.
No, good. Yeah, we can move on from multiverse stuff. So if the idea is that there's some deeper, so are you giving a sort of stalking horse where there's this the law
so.
actually is?
Let's say this position. Let's say this positionalist realism is true, right? Let's say that for any given thing in the universe, there's going to be like some natural disposition towards that being created. And let's say in the set of all natural dispositions, one of the elements in that set is a disposition which goes like life expecting conditions must exist, right? That specific aspect, which is compatible with naturalism, would just equally expect the data which is talked about in fine tuning as the specific data that you guys are specifically using to favor theism, for example, right?
Yeah. Okay. So the natural disposition isn't. It's not that there's a deeper law. It's that there's this actual natural disposition to create life, and that's the disposition is the life creating one. It seems like that's just the sort of thing that you could I mean,
You could take you could say the disposition. You could model this. Sorry, you could model the disposition to be a law such that you just model it into like some conditional sentence. So the disposition is, if Big Bang occurs, then life expecting conditions, and
Sure,
that
sure.
is going to be descriptive of a disposition of the natural world, such that when this phenomenon occurs, then there will in fact be life expecting conditions.
Yeah, it just seems like you could use this to explain any phenomena, right? Like it's like I'm sure you're familiar with like star writing cases. It seems like you could equally there say, okay, what about naturalism plus disposition to write in the stars the opening lines of the Bible, right? I think obviously there we wouldn't want to say that this means that we don't update in favor of theism if we look up into the stars and see written out the opening line of the Bible, right? And so my worry is just that it seems like you can give this response to any potential theistic evidence, but it seems like we want to be able to say that at least.
But given hypothetical you're talking about there, you'd agree that that hypothetical is not like reflective of something which actually occurred, like the stars thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm saying that like maybe you could make like an intuition pump argument if that was to occur in favor of theism, but that does not occur. So I don't think that's necessarily
the point is just that for any observation you could say of that observation, wait, don't update on theism because of that observation. You should update, or at least you should update equally in favor of naturalism plus natural disposition to create that observation. But I don't think
talking about this. So what are you talking about here? Are ad hoc explanations? You're saying that like, okay, well, to basically bake into the hypothesis that it expects this, we can just add this other independent proposition or information bit. But I think the theist is doing the exact same thing. And mind you, I used to like use the fine-tuning arguments, and I think it is complete garbage as a theist, right? Because the whole idea is for any theist specifically, when they're saying that, okay, we see life expecting conditions, so let's just stipulate that there's a being that is maximally powerful, and let's also stipulate at the same time that this being have the intention to create life expecting conditions, and also stipulate that it is all-knowing, to basically create a thesis which basically presumes that such being exists, which would expect the data we're talking about here. And I think the theist is doing the exact same thing as what you'd be accusing the atheist of doing if they're to be creating such a hypothesis to begin with to favor naturalism to be the case.
Yeah, I think that we should just have higher. I mean, I think my response in if I was, if the naturalist gave the sort of ad hoc explanation there, would just be to say that I think that there's a, the prior probability of naturalism plus whatever is quite low. But I think that we shouldn't think that theism, that perfect being theism, has the sort of crazy low prior that it would need to have in order for you not to get the sort of update in favor of theism that you get.
Why is it the case that why can't we just affirm that instead of God existing, like this maximally perfect being existing, we affirm like, I don't know, like a Platonic object named the Bob, which has the intention to create this given thing or some curve like that. Like,
yeah, I just think that I think that there's a couple. I think that we should think that has lower prior probability than perfect being theism, and I think that I think if you don't think that,
in virtue of credence, are you like appealing to like subjective Bayesianism to say that it has lower prior probability, or are you appealing to some like background data which is not based off our credences to say that it has lower prior probability when you're comparing two hypotheses here?
So I'm appealing to here. I'm just talking about my credence. I'm just saying that I have a higher prior. I think the prior on perfect being theism is higher than the prior on Bob, the Platonic object that creates.
So what if we created like a Schmittler 2.0, and he just genocides every single person on the planet, and it's just me and you talking about theism, and then you have your credences and I have my credences. Why should anyone take your credences over mine in this given conversation?
In this conversation, I think that I don't think that I have a knockdown sort of solution to the problem of priors, if that's what you're asking for. But
I don't even think it's a problem, really. I think it's just in this particular case there would be a problem because the credences for the sake of the credences you're appealing to here, which are your personalized credences to say that this is correct, is not sufficient, because as the atheist, they're just going to say, I don't share those credences, bro. I think Platonic Bob might actually exist. Do
we agree that I think that most people have higher think that the Platonic object Bob has a lower prior probability than perfect being theism, and I think that
what you could appeal to, sorry to cut you off. What you could appeal to undercut the credibility of those credences you have is by appealing to political explanations, right? So you could make the argument that the reason as to why you have these credences are because of societal and political reasons. Maybe, for example, your family are conservatives and they believe in God existing, or there's a trend of people believing in that God exists as a result of, let's say, slavery from the past, as well as imposition on people's wills. So you can appeal to like this sort of like explanation which undercuts the credibility of your credences to say that you don't have these credences because of genuine credible intuitions that we would utilize, for example, to survive, but non-credible intuitions as a result of societal impact.
Sure, yeah, we can. We should talk about that. But first, so do you agree that so you agree that most people are going to think that Bob has a lower prior probability than perfect being theism, right? It seems like most people. I mean, just
sorry, you kind of bugged out for me. I'm gonna have to.
No, you're good. Yeah.
So I don't believe them. So are you asking me if most people believe that there's high prior probability for theism over what specifically?
Perfect being theism over Bob, the Platonic object that has the disposition and ability
Absolutely,
to.
yes. And I can
So it seems like given most people
I can just, of course.
Yeah. But so we agree then that most people should update in favor of theism in light of the fine-tuning data, right?
I don't agree on that part. I can grant the first prop, but not agree on the latter prop. I can agree that yes, most people do in fact have these intuitions, but again, these intuitions they have is as a result of this particular phenomena, as I've explained previously, which are the phenomena correlating back to the historical features of slavery and how it has a long psychological impact on not just our ancestors, but the people who came after our ancestors, for example, in the blood.
I agree. You can sort of give the undercutting defeater. I think that's, but so given that most people, so you're saying people shouldn't have these priors aren't.
Well, it sounds like he's giving like a debunking argument, saying like
I can just suspend judgment. Yeah, go for it.
No, I was just saying, like, it sounds like you're giving like a debunking argument that insofar as, you know, these things are given to us by our society or by like slavery, that like these things aren't truth tracking, therefore we're not justified.
I'm not even making that strong claim. I'm not even going to make the strong claim that these intuitions are given to us by those features, but that these social and psychological features, or sorry, social and historical features have some level of significant causal impact on our intuitions, and that's why we do in fact have these intuitions, at least the most of us, right?
Yeah, it seems like, I guess it's unclear to me what the, so there's a couple of things. One is that it's unclear to me what this, so you also think that we should update in favor of like, so in the star writing case, you think that it would be totally fine to give a similar kind of like, why shouldn't we update in favor of Bob the Platonic object with the disposition to write the first chapter of the Bible on the stars? Or to move back a bit, because it seems like you can give just exactly the same kind of explanation for why people shouldn't rely on or give the same sort of undercutting defeater. So you're agnostic on whether or not we should update.
But I believe that, but the thing is, I think that's redundant insofar as that hypothetical is going to be reflective of some non-existent data that we're not even trying to explain in this conversation. So I want to laser focus on the things we are supposed to be explained in a way with the hypotheses, and those things would be the things which actually exist, like the real world data we're observing day to day in our day-to-day lives, for example, in science and outside of science, for instance, right? So
I think that if your response to fine-tuning can also be given as a response to star writing cases, I think that that's a pretty good reason to think that your response isn't.
I don't even know I'm even teasing you guys at my worst objection to the argument. I have like stronger objections, not to drop this one, of course.
Sure. I mean, we can move on, but it seems like yeah.
I still don't. I can touch back to this objection, but I still don't believe that what you've said are completely invalid what I'm saying, because all I'm saying here is that the same criticism you're utilizing to criticize the atheists of ad hoc reasoning can be applied back to the theists. And the moment you say that theism is going to have a higher prior probability, I can then undercut the credibility to those higher prior probability by appealing to social and historical features, which would give that sort of like psychological profile a lower level of epistemic merit, right? So we're kind of agnostic right now. I think given all that information we have, or all the information that I presented and that you presented respectively, I don't think we can hold a firm position on if we should assign epistemic merit towards the intuitions you're appealing to, for saying that credibly it would be the case that the position of theism has a higher prior probability in comparison to naturalism. But we can move on to the stronger objection. Right?
Sure. Yeah. I guess. I mean, yeah. If I was going to respond to that, I would just be repeating.
Yeah, I have this tendency to use my
stuff.
worst objections when I just start off conversations. But the stronger objection ties back to the logical possibility stuff. Like, you agree that God has to be logically necessary for him to be maximally perfect. But clearly, it's not going to be the case that God is logically necessary, right? Like, we see like reasons to believe that God is not logically necessary, right? So in basically all cases where there's no explicit logical contradiction in rejecting something's existence, it would in fact be the case that thing is not in fact necessary, right? And that thing would apply to God. Now, if you're using like a probabilistic argument in favor of theism, you would implicitly be conceding to God possibly not existent, and considering you've already agreed that God has to be necessary, then him possibly not existent means he does not exist.
Maybe. Go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, I'm just not. I guess I'm just not really sure whether that's true. Like, I'm not sure why you couldn't say something like, it's an epistemic possibility, but epistemic possibility doesn't imply logical possibility. So we're fine.
Right. Like, I could give a probabilistic argument.
Here's the funniest part about this. That's my position, but I'm sadly gonna have to argue against that position right now. So I'm gonna ask you this question, right? So you believe epistemic possibility and logical possibility are not the same thing, correct?
Well, they're obviously not the same thing, but I don't think that one entails the other.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
really?
yeah, sure.
So,
to answer the question directly, like,
case...
obviously they're not the same thing.
Okay, got you. Is it the case? This is hilarious. I'm gonna have to do this, man. So would you say that the axioms that you adopt in your epistemology are going to be axioms in conformity with classical logic?
For me specifically, or just for like everybody?
You said what? Sorry.
For me specifically, or for everybody?
For both of you guys.
Sure. I accept classical logic. I'm a bit shaky on excluded middle, but yeah, I accept the other two.
Okay, let's just go like LOI and the LNC, right? You accept those two things.
Yeah.
So the problem is, if you accept those two things as, let's say, foundations in your epistemology, then it cannot be the case that epistemic possibility is relevantly different from logical possibility, because there's not going to be any element within the set of all epistemic possibilities. Sorry about that. But there not be any element in the set of epistemic possibilities which would be a logical impossibility, or which can be a logical impossibility given your own epistemology.
Well, so I can give you an example, right? So it's logic. Let me look up the exact wording of Goldbach's conjecture. So there's something called Goldbach's.
Ah, that's a good one, dude.
Yeah,
I know what it is.
So it's a good.
But you'd have to make the argument that. Yeah, no, I used it actually. That's a good one. Now you'd have to make the argument that. Now I'm going to ask you this: why do you think that mathematical laws are necessarily in conformity with classical logic?
I'm not that. I actually have no idea.
So like in mathematics.
Oh well, okay. Wait, maybe it's this. Maybe it's because classical logic dictates all. Like the truth of all propositions, or like it's necessary in order for like if something is in violation of a law of logic, then it's not true, and mathematics deals with propositions, therefore mathematics must be constrained by the laws of logic.
And let's see why. Wait, so just a second, right? So you're kind of bugging out on mine, of course, because of my connection. So you're saying that classical laws of logic dictates the truth of all propositions? Was your claim?
Yeah, like it's if something is in violation of laws of logic, then it's strictly false. So, it's going to be a constraining factor for mathematical propositions because they're propositions.
Wait, so if something is in violation with classical laws of logic, then it's strictly false. You're saying this to be the case, right?
Yes.
So what about the revenge version of the liar's paradox? What would that be like?
What's the revenge version of the liar? I'm familiar with liar's paradox, but what's the revenge version?
So this sentence. So of course, I'm gonna just start off with the liar's paradox, and depending on your response to the liar's paradox, might run the revenge version of the liar's paradox. This sentence is false. You know the drill basically, right? This sentence is false. If true, then contradiction. If false, then contradiction. What's your response to the liar's paradox?
It's not propositional.
Okay, revenge version. this sentence is false or non-propositional. What's your response to that?
This sentence is false or non-propositional. So, okay, if it's false, then it would be true because it's false or non-propositional. So it must be true, but then
if
that
it's
would be
non-propositional,
in
it's also true.
violation. So then this one would
Non-propositional?
also be non-propositional.
So this sentence, it is true to say that this sentence is false or non-propositional because it is non-propositional.
Oh, I see how this works. Yeah, I think I would just have to affirm that it's like still non-propositional. That what you're doing when
So
you
you're affirming the
like
second
walk
disjunct
through like
of the
pointing out that
sentence?
actually it's true is you're trying to evaluate as a proposition something that's not propositional.
But what to make that so if you're saying it's non-propositional, you're saying the
Then it's
second
not going to be
disjunct is
true, or yeah.
And if it is not, so here's the reason as to why the revenge liars paradox works, right? So if you're saying this sentence is false or non-propositional, which is a self-referential sentence, of course, and you're claiming that that sentence is non-propositional, then that means the second disjunct is true, and if the second disjunct is true, then it becomes propositional, which results in another contradiction.
Oh wait, so I guess like I don't think that you can evaluate this as a proposition. So I understand that if you attempt to evaluate it as a proposition, you're going to arrive at the conclusion, well, actually, it must be true, which is like a contradiction. So, it can't be non-propositional and it can't be, false and it can't be true. But in situations like this, when it doesn't have the value of like true or false, it's non-propositional, which means that you can't really evaluate it as a proposition.
Wait, hold on a second. Would you agree that self-referential sentences, like for example, this sentence is not in Italian, is a proposition?
They can be, yeah.
Okay, so if I say this sentence is a proposition, is that true?
Yeah, prima facie.
Okay, so if that is true, then that means propositionality and non-propositionality are not metalinguistic features, and so they'll be features of the object language. And if they're features of the object language, then this sentence is false or non-propositional would have to be a proposition because of the fact that non-propositionality does not take anything away from the status we're talking about here.
I guess I'm not really sure that follows.
Well, wait, just a second, right? Because when you're claiming that something is non-propositional, when you said this sentence is false, is non-propositional, are you hinging that response based off Tarski's objection or something else?
I take a proposition to be something that's like either true or false, but not neither and not both. Oh wait, do we have Reverend Blitz in the house?
You said what? Sorry.
Let's go.
Dr.
You
Blitz
said
is
that
correct in that one. So, yeah, Dr. Blitz is actually correct. However, I'm Deva's advocate, and so I want to hear Ian's position and Hegel Fan's position. So, because you said specifically, given your agreements, you said propositionality and non-propositionality, those would be parts of the object's language because you agree that this sentence as a proposition would be propositional. Then you'd also have to agree that you saying that the revenge liar sentence would be propositional because you agree that it's non-propositional.
Can you help me form? I'm like not tracking this argument at all. Can you can we like formalize this? I can let me like write it down.
I'll just formalize it off the top of my head. So
are you clear on this first sentence, Ian? The first revenge.
Yeah. So
revenge version?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the first one is, either this
sentence is false.
This sentence is false or non-proposition. Okay, yeah, sure. So this sentence is false, and then my response, of course, is that this is non-propositional.
Yeah.
And then we have this sentence is false or non-propositional.
Hey, Ian, this is unfair though, bro. You got like a freaking PC you can just like use to track, and I got to do all this off the top of my head like a genius, bro. What the hell is
Okay, not too much self-glazing. Okay, so sure, we got this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, non-propositionality. So before we even get on to the nature of non-propositionality, I'm going to ask you this. When you claimed that this sentence is false is not a proposition, right? When you made that sentence or affirmation, is it the case that the motivation behind that response is based on Tarski's response or no?
No. I just base this off of my understanding of a proposition, which is that a proposition is a statement which is true or false, but not neither and not both.
Wait, but that's just defining proposition in a way such that it would actually stipulate that classical logic would be correct necessarily, right?
If classical
Second.
logic is wrong, there are no propositions. Truth nuke. Truth nuke.
But just a second, right?
Well, I actually might. Okay, I'm a bit skeptical about LEM, so I don't know if I'd commit myself to that. But I do think that there's something to be said about that, which is that.
Hold on. Wait, what about the definition of that specifically of a proposition that you have given, which would entail that this sentence would not be under either truth valuations?
Because for either true or false, you can go through it and then you can arrive at the conclusion that neither of them work.
Wait, why would neither of them work?
Because,
point is-
if this sentence is false, well, if that's a false claim, then it's true that it's false, which is a contradiction. And, if it's true, then if it's false, then it would be
Well, why is that
accurately
the problem?
claiming.
And why is that the problem? That seems perfectly fine from my perspective, right? Like, why is it the problem for there to be a contradiction?
Because presumably we want to accept the law of non-contradiction, unless
Why?
you might not want to do that. Like I can
think that's
motivate
what's in
the
contention.
I can motivate the law of non-contradiction. I think that that's just going to follow from the truth table of the not operator and the and operator.
Yeah, but the truth table of so you have to understand here that true tables that you're appealing to here are going to go back to zeroth order logic, which is a classical logic system. So it's going to be question begging.
Okay. Well, at that point, like what the terms are even saying is unclear to me. If
Any
not,
consistent
it doesn't
logician is
refer to
gonna
like
reject
the
those
truth
truth
table. Then
tables.
I'm not really sure what it means.
Wait, hold on a second. So we know what it means, right? We know that what it means to. You'd agree that in the conjunction, for example, like P and Q, what that means is affirming P to be true and P is true, and affirming Q to be true and Q is true. Stipulating the conjunction is true, correct? You'd agree with this, right? This is conceptual assessment. of what the
Sure, yeah.
conjunction is in logic, right? Okay. Now that does not exclude a pair-consistent logic system, because any person who's a Dialetheist, they would actually grant that same assessment you've just signed off on, but just add another parameter, which would make it such that there are contradictions.
Okay, but then I would want to get clear on what they mean when they say not, and also and.
So all it means for it to not be the case is for it to be false. Let's talk about false and truth. And so the best way I break down truth and falsehood is in virtue of like atomic satisfaction.
Oh wait, sure. So okay, but then that would seem to bite into the exact problem, which is let me display this. So okay, we got P, not P.
Sorry, I was talking to someone IRL. What are you saying?
That seems to bite into like the critique, which is that all you're saying is that not means like P, or so not P means P is false.
So there's no atomic satisfaction between the subject and whatever that's being talked about by the subject.
There's no
And you can
atomic
break down to
satisfaction.
Atomic satisfaction. Yeah, so when you talk about like truth and falsehood, we're talking about it in virtue of atomic satisfaction or failure for there to be atomic satisfaction.
Yeah, I don't know
If
what
you
that
end up breaking
means.
down so like atomic sentences, right? Like
Not really.
just like some things, like for example, simple sentences like Ian is debating Apollo right now. Like that's
Sure.
This was like the basic unit of meaning.
Sure,
right?
like a subject and a predicate.
Yeah, basically.
Okay,
Now,
sure.
I'm gonna ask you this, right? So an atomic satisfaction would be if it is the case that whatever that's been affirmed of the subject is something which is an accurate affirmation of the subject. And if you're gonna ask me further questions on what that would mean, I would then have to step into the realm of set theory to explain that also. So it's up to you, really.
So it's just saying like atomic satisfaction is just like when you make an atomic when there's an atomic sentence and that atomic sentence is true, then it's atomically satisfied.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, sure.
And if
I'm
it is
tracking.
false, it is not atomically satisfied. So that's basically what the Dialetheist would mean when they're saying that something is both true and false at the same time. There you go.
They're saying that it's both atomically satisfied and not atomically satisfied.
Yep. So I think contradictions are not positive. They're not positively conceivable. That means you can't imagine them visually, but it is conceivable in such that we understand what a conjunction is. We understand what it means for something to be true and for something to be false in isolation. So I think that gives us strong reason to believe that it's not completely nonsense, is it? All right.
Well, okay, but here's my problem is that it seems like what intentionality requires, like what, aboutness requires, is to differentiate your thoughts from the things that are not your thoughts. That when I'm thinking of the cat on the mat, I'm explicitly not thinking about like the bug on the rug. And in order for that to be the case, I would need to exclude the possibility of the opposite of it. Otherwise, it doesn't seem like I'm actually having a thought about anything.
I'm just not going to grant that intentionality requires that, right? I'm just not going to grant that. And even if I granted what you just said, it doesn't eliminate the point I'm making there, which is simply that it is still to some degree understandable because you're speaking coherently about what a contradiction is. And it also does not eliminate the arguments I'm given in favor as to why there would be a contradiction, right? You're not explaining this why it's propositional. You're not really explaining that part properly, at least from my perspective. And not to mention, when you're claiming that it can't be propositional because it results in a contradiction, and it can't be the case that there's a true contradiction because of the truth tables of conjunctions, then again, as I think Hegel is going to agree on, it basically presupposes the truth conditions which are stipulated in zeroth order logic, which is a type of classical logic which I'm placing into question currently in attacking, right? So
sure. Wait, so then would you deny that intentionality requires like aboutness, or that like aboutness requires like a distinction between like what you're thinking about and
go for it, continue, sorry.
Yeah, I just want to know like of the steps I laid out, like which of those would you disagree with?
I would disagree on intentionality or aboutness relations requiring assessment or pondering about things which are not you.
Oh, wait, I don't think that was one of my steps.
It seems like, tell me if I'm wrong, Paul, it seems like what you want to deny is that intentionality requires the relevant kind of differentiation, that kind of, like, it might require differentiation in some sense, but certainly not the kind of, like, just you can't, and also, I mean, if, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, Apollo, but it seems like you might want to say something like, okay, maybe that's your concept of intentionality. Maybe we can talk about schmintentionality, which is just
to motivate this. Do you know Ibn Sina's thought, floating man thought experiment?
Oh, wait, can you speak up, Apollo? You're quiet again.
Yeah, sorry, I was saying that I can use a thought experiment to motivate. Yeah,
go for it.
Do you know Ibn Sina's floating man thought experiment?
No.
So,
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's like he made this thought experiments up when he was in the prison. Basically, the idea is simply like you have like a person which has all the sensory awarenesses, and then if you take away all those characteristics that the person has, he would still be conscious because he has the aspect of self-awareness. And so in that case specifically, it would not be the case that there's anything else the person would be aware of except the self, and it would still be the case the person has intentionality and awareness. Right, and so that's like a clear intuition pumping example in favor of the prop that you can have intentionality without there being any differentiation in the relevant sense, like Charsky said a while ago, right?
Well, but in this scenario, would this person be thinking about, the cat on the mat?
No, they're not thinking about anything except yourself.
That's my point, right? Is that in order to have like the thought, you can't be thinking about the things that are not that thought. So in this case, in order to have like the thought where all these other things are stripped away, it can't be the case that you're having thoughts about these things like you can't be thinking about like the cat on the mat if you're thinking about like the self.
Okay, watch this. So intentionality is defined as just the aspects of being about something in this context of psychology, right? You'd agree with this definition,
yeah.
Right? And you'd also agree that for there to be a logical contradiction, it has to be the case that you affirm something and you affirm the negation of that thing, correct?
Yeah.
So in the case of a bachelor, which is defined as an unmarried man, right? For there to be a contradiction about that specific thing, I have to be affirming something which directly denies the defining characteristic of a bachelor, which is logically necessary, correct?
Sure. Like you would need to be saying like there exists like a bachelor who is, unmarried or not a man. Or who is married or is like not a man.
course, definitely. So if that's the case, right, then it would in fact be the burden would be on you, Sar, to establish as to why there being an absence of relevant differentiation is in direct opposition towards and about this relation in the context of psychology, such that there would be a contradiction and there would not be intentionality. So what should be the contradiction?
Yeah, because when your thoughts cannot be differentiated from what they are not, then they aren't about anything. Like, for example, there are a lot of things that the thought of just the self is not about. And for that reason, because like when you think of like just yourself, you're not thinking about the cat on the mat. If you were thinking about just yourself, and also in that thought was contained like the cat and the mat, and in fact like all of the things that were not yourself, well, you're not really thinking about anything.
Well, this doesn't really work, right? Because when you're establishing or when you're attempting to establish the contradiction, you're starting off by affirming some given proposition, stipulating that proposition to be factual, that proposition being...
Wait, you're quiet again.
Saying that when you're thinking about some... Bugging out? What about now?
No, oh, well, you're just quiet. Better? Like... I think it might be better.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So the thing is, when you're attempting to establish the contradiction in there being intentionality absent of relevant differentiation, you start off by affirming the proposition you're stipulating to be a fact. And that proposition is you saying that when you're thinking about something or when there's intentionality, there is relevant differentiation. But that's just question begging against the skeptical objection I'm given, which is, what's the contradiction, right? So what we can do here is we can just pull up your graph thingy, your notepad.
The
and
notepad.
You just type out the proposition and then you just give us the formal rendition as to why there would in fact be a contradiction, right?
Okay, yeah, let me, well, I'm not sure what specifically you want the contradiction on, but I can render the argument, which is just, if you have a coherent thought, then that thought is about something.
It's talking about intentionality, right? Just intentionality, simplicity, right? I don't know what you mean by coherent thought, because
then that thought is intentional. If that thought is intentional, then it is about something.
Okay.
If that thought is about something, then it is not about the things that are not that thing. Therefore, if you have a coherent thought, then it is not about...
deny that 3 is like a conceptual truth? Like, it might just be true, but it's not...
Yeah,
like
so here's
I'm going to have to be to think about something.
No, watch this. I'm going to accept all the 3 premises and explain why it doesn't lead to the conclusion, or that the position he's trying to defend. I can accept that if you're thinking about something, then it's not going to be about the things you're not thinking about, and it would still not be sufficient for your claim to be correct, because your claim is you saying that there has to be some active, deliberative process of differentiation. So you're deliberating about the things that are different.
Oh no, sorry, that's not my claim.
Deliberation.
My claim is not that this needs to be like an active process, but just that it needs to be true. Like, whether or not you're intentionally differentiating this thought from other thoughts is not my claim. My claim is specifically just that in order to have the coherent thought, it must not be the things that it's not.
Ian, what you're saying is what you're saying just what it means to have the kind of coherent thought you're talking about is to not be thinking about all these.
So you're making that weaker claim. Gotcha, cool. Okay, so if you're making that claim, then what I'll affirm is, it is the case that this is true, right? Insofar as if you're thinking about something, then you're not thinking about the things which are not that thing. But it is also the case that you're thinking about the things which are not that thing, and they're compatible under a Dialetheistic model, sorry, right?
Oh wait, sorry. Run that back one more time. I don't think I got that.
Yeah, sure. So this is equally expected under Dialetheism, right? Like, if you're stipulating that there are true contradictions, then under a Dialetheistic model, they're going to stipulate, of course, that P is identical to not P. But them agreeing that for any case where there's P, there's not P, doesn't automatically mean that for those cases, or there's not at least one of those cases, where P is not P, and not P is also satisfied.
So okay, I have no idea what you're saying, to be perfectly honest, but I guess I can give like maybe like an argument for why I think that it would follow that dialetheism is false from here. So if dialetheism is true, then there is a coherent thought of the form P and not P.
Why is that? Wait, hold on. This is the first premise. Before you move on,
Yeah,
is that a material implication or is that a strict implication conditional sentence?
I don't know what the difference between those two things are.
Material implication does not stipulate modal operator, and a strict implication stipulates there being a modal operator.
I have no idea which one it would be.
Yeah. Wait. So just to be clear, like in prop logic, when you're talking about strict implication, it
No, like I
utilizes
understand the
both
distinction you're
modal
making. I
logic.
just have no idea
Okay,
which one it would
so
be. I
I'm gonna
mean,
just break it down.
I would
Do you
assume.
believe
So I would
premise one is
assume right that
necessarily
it would
true?
be. I would assume that it would be a strict implication.
Yeah, I think you want to say it's a strict, if I'm understanding what you're trying to
Okay.
say.
Yeah, that's just gonna be, bro. You're cooked if you're gonna say it's a strict implication. I'm just gonna ask you, like, given the definition of Dialetheism, what commits a Dialetheist to believe in that? For any case of a Dialethia, it has to be a coherent thought. Like, what commits them into making any claim about coherency conditions? Given that the position of Dialetheism is a theory of logic and the truth condition is another theory of psychological states of the mind.
Wait, sure. So then the dialetheist would affirm that all contradictions are incoherent.
I'm saying that I'm not affirming that they're affirming this. I'm saying if they're to be
Also,
affirming,
wouldn't they say
how
that?
they
If
be in
coherence just
opposition
means-
to Dialetheism?
They're saying that it's a true. There are true contradictions. If it's true, then it can be coherent.
Wait, hold on a second. So just because something is true, I don't see why that necessitates the possibility of coherency or the factuality of it actually being coherent.
It would need to be possible for it to be coherent, because if it's not coherent, then it's not true.
Wait, and is that another strict implication?
That if it's not coherent, then it's not true. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and what about the definition of truth, which entails coherency?
Just that
And what do you
it's.
even mean by coherency?
You just said it's like what is the case. What is the case is not what is not the case. And by coherency,
Okay, and what
you
do you
know,
mean by,
I
what do you
mean
mean
that
by
it.
coherency? Yeah.
I mean that it's. I don't know, like about something. There's like a distinct thought there.
Ho- There's a distinct thought there, huh? So
Yeah.
just a second. So you're saying if something is not coherent, then it is not true, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if we have a possible world in which there are no thoughts, are you claiming that there cannot be truths in such a world because there are no necessary conditions for there to be coherency to
Yeah.
even
When I
exist in
speak of
that world,
thoughts, I'm
given the fact
speaking
there are no-
thoughts in like an abstract sense, like in the sense of like a proposition.
Hold on a second. So just a second, right? So it is the case that coherency requires thoughts, and by thoughts, all you're talking about there are propositions.
Yeah.
But you're talking about truth conditions requiring coherency, right?
Okay.
Wait, so hold on, just to be clear on a couple of things, right? So it is no longer the case that when you're talking about intentionality, you're talking about differentiation of thoughts and such that you're talking about just mere mental states, but you're now extending that to you saying that there has to be differentiation of propositions
No, I'm speaking about propositions.
the entire time. Okay,
Yes.
so let's just grant that assumption, right? So you're speaking about propositions the entire time.
Yeah.
So now you're saying that for something to be true, it has to be coherent, and for something to be coherent, it has to be such that there are thoughts, of course, which are going to be propositions.
Well, in order for something to be coherent, the thing being coherent is going to be like a proposition about like a specific state of affairs.
Okay. And
Wait, sorry, what was your question?
is that the only necessary condition for something to be coherent?
I don't take a stance on that.
Okay, got you. So you'd agree at least that that's a necessary condition, correct?
For something to be coherent, it would need propositions to exist, yeah?
Okay. And so what about that definition which entails that Dialetheism would be incompatible with the position you're talking about, given that definition of coherency?
Sure, and by dialetheism you mean just the position that there are true contradictions. Well, contradictions are going to be a relation between
Yeah.
propositions. So if there are true contradictions, then there are true relations between propositions, which means that propositions must exist if dialetheism is true.
Okay. And so how is it going to be the case that that's incompatible with your assessment, right? Because we all understand, sorry for the background again, we all understand that Dialetheism, right? That's going to be something which is going to be affirming that there is at least one Dialetheia in the formal system, correct?
Yes.
And so a Dialetheist would agree that P is not P, which is your assessment of what determines P to be P or P to be true, right?
Sure. Wait. So they would say that P is not P?
Yes.
Okay.
And sorry about that. And so I'm asking you, how would it be the case that given that assessment, it is opposing the core fundamental tenets of Dialetheism?
Yeah, because okay, so if Dialetheism is true, then there is a coherent thought, or then there's going to be like a true contradiction, which takes the form of a proposition and its negation being affirmed simultaneously. But in order for these to be affirmed simultaneously, this would be an incoherence insofar as it lacks intentionality, because it's not about any specific state of affairs. It's about like every state of affairs.
No, because if you believe that there are true contradictions, it doesn't automatically require that the content of that Dialetheia is encapsulated in all possible propositions in a given formal system. So that's obviously incorrect, right? You're not going to want to say that.
Oh wait, sorry. I guess like which
say that
step of that would you reject then?
You're stating that if you were to grant Dialetheism, then it would encapsulate thinking about all propositions, correct?
No, just that specifically what would take place is that there would be like an incoherence because you're no longer thinking about anything in particular. Like if you're thinking about the cat, the cat is on the mat, but also, the cat is not on the mat. Well, that's
again, right?
That's going to be no thought in particular.
Wait, that's a contradiction, right? Because you said that under Dialetheism, you not be thinking about anything, but then you gave an example where Dialetheist is thinking about something, and it's both conjuncts, which is the P and the negation.
There is no thought there, though. Is the problem? Like, what is that? Wait, what is that about?
It is about both conjuncts of the contradiction.
But what is that about? Like, what is it actually about?
I just told you it's about both conjuncts.
But what is it about? What is that proposition about?
That proposition is about the reference, which are instantiated by both conjuncts of the proposition.
Which are what? Wait, what would those be?
Which is the relation of it being above the mat, being assigned to the referent, which is cat, and that thing being affirmed in the first conjunct, and that thing being denied in the second conjunct. That's what.
But what is that specifically about, right? Like, I think it's like telling that the position is incoherent by the fact that you can't answer this question in any sort of clear way.
Well, I just did.
You didn't. What is it? Just like explain very clearly what that thought would be about. Because I think that if we ask the average audience member, like anybody in the audience who thinks that they understood the answer to that question, like please raise your hand and we'll bring you up.
Well,
I don't think that there's anybody who's understanding.
Go for it. Continue.
Well, I just don't think that there's like any sort of like clear answer there.
Wait, just a second, right? Because you'd agree, first and foremost, most of your audience is your audience, not my audience. And secondly, most of your audience does not understand even the quantum mechanics stuff that you bring up in your conversations, but that doesn't automatically invalidate the credence or the credibility of what you're saying, would it? Right?
No, I agree with that. But like for any question about quantum mechanics, if I was not giving like a clear answer to that question, if I'm not like purposely dodging the question, then presumably I would be able to give like a clear elaboration on the answer to the question.
You asked me what would the Dialetheist be thinking about in the case where they're affirming the cat is on the mat and is not on the mat. I told you, and I'll speak slowly, right? They would be thinking about both conjuncts. And by both conjuncts, just to clarify for the audience, when you're talking about conjuncts, you're talking about, for example, in the case where you're certain P and Q, P would be one conjunct and Q would be another conjunct. If I say Ian is both white and he's on TikTok, those are two conjuncts, the aspects of being white and the aspects of being on TikTok. In the case of what you're talking about here, when you're saying the cat is on the mat and is not on the mat, the Dialetheist, i.e. the person who believes that there are true contradictions, would be thinking actively about both conjuncts, which is being on the mat and the not being on the mat, as the cat is concerned.
Okay, so I can form like a mental picture in my head when I think like Ian is white, Ian is on TikTok. I can imagine like a white person on TikTok. If I try to imagine, like when the dialetheist is thinking about, you know, the cat is on the mat and the cat is not on the mat, is there like any sort of like mental picture that's associated there?
No, but there's no mental picture of infinity either, but infinity is not a contradiction.
Well, I think that there's like a mental picture there. There's like a picture
Can
of
you
like something that's like never ending.
Imagine right now an infinite regress.
Well, yeah, I'm imagining something that just like never ends. Yeah. I think that there is like a distinct thought there with like distinct properties.
No, you're not actually imagining the infinite regress.
I am.
For there to be an imagination of the infinite regress, there has to be an infinite set of contents in that imagination, unless you're not imagining an actual infinite regress.
Well, I'm imagining something that never ends, so.
No, you're imagining something which is going on and on for a couple of seconds, not something which is going on and on infinitely.
Well, technically what you could imagine, specifically you could imagine something that shrinks at like a certain rate such that it fits into like a finite space, but that they're like at each point,
No.
for
Let's just go
example.
back to the infinity example, right? I don't want it to cascade off to a different point. I want to laser focus on the infinity case, right? So I'm saying that you are not actually imagining infinity. For you to actually imagine infinity, in your mind, there has to be an actualization, a psychological actualization of an infinite number of content.
Yeah, I think there is, yeah.
In your mind right now, so
Yes.
your infinite knowledge in that specific
Whoa, sorry,
imagination.
that doesn't follow.
Wait, do you know your imagination or no?
I do know my imagination, yes.
So if you know the contents of your imagination...
Well, wait, first of all, you're already committed to having infinite
Wait,
knowledge,
hold on a
right? You know,
second.
1 + 1 is 2, and 1 + 2 is 3, and 1 + 3, or sorry, did I say fucking 1 plus, I don't know what I said. 1 + 1 is
Wait,
2,
hold on a
1 +
second.
2 is 3, 1 + 3 is
You're kind of
4.
logic.
Like, you already know, like, would you agree
Uh-huh.
that you know infinite mathematical facts? Like, you
No, I'm
already
not gonna
have
do this,
infinity
right?
in your
So I wanna
mind?
focus, I was making the point, and you
Is that a
jumped to my
yes?
point
Is that a
asking this
no?
question. So just a second.
Okay,
I don't
it
believe
sounds
that
like we're not going to
commencement
get an
is
answer to
infinite
that question.
knowledge. You're not responding to my points right now.
Well,
I
wait,
already know.
sorry. You're
I'm
saying
pretty sure
that
everyone
it
thinks
couldn't
we can talk to
possibly
each
be the
other
case
right
that
now.
there's infinite knowledge in my head, but I'm pointing out to you that you're
Bro,
already
if you
committed
wanna
to that
if you want to
view.
commit optical suicide by running away from my point to interrupt my point by
I've
asking me a
literally
question to get off
already
the
answered
point,
your
then
question.
that's up to
I've
you,
already
man.
answered your point. Well, I just don't think that this rhetoric is going to work out for you. Listen, like
It is working because
the
people are saying right
hyper
now you're
freaking
running.
the fuck out rhetoric kind of works on
Oh, yeah, I'm
Discord. It
definitely
really
freaking
doesn't
out,
work on
man.
TikTok. Do you think that
Okay,
between the
dude.
two of us, I'm the one that sounds like I'm freaking out? You sound like frantic.
I
Like
sound
seriously,
frantic because
Apollo,
you're
just
dodging.
calm down. Take a deep breath.
I'm getting really
So
elated
you
with
are
the
getting
fact that you're
frantic, and
dodging
I
right
think
now.
that for your sake, you know,
Oh, now
I
we're
know
gonna
that
resort
you
to
would
the tongue
never
policing.
avoid
Oh,
my
shit.
question, but what I'm
Now he's
asking you
tongue
is just,
policing.
do you have infinite knowledge about like basic mathematical facts?
No, I don't.
You don't. So wait,
None of
which
us do.
mathematical fact in like 1 + X = Y do you not know?
Why would that be an infinite knowledge?
Just answer the question, because otherwise there are
You
infinite
said
numbers.
that we do in fact
How
have
many
infinite
numbers are
knowledge of
there,
mathematical
Apollo?
facts. An indefinite number.
How many? Oh, indefinite.
I
Sure.
would say an infinite number, actually.
So I guess
That
like the
doesn't really sound that
cardinality of the
coherent, but
set
I'll
of
just
like
go with
mathematical
infinite.
facts. I guess like what would be the cardinality of that?
I would say it's an infinite. I changed my response to infinite. instead of
Sure.
indefinite.
So
we have
it
an
would be
number of
infinite.
mathematical numbers.
Yeah. And do you know all numbers?
You said what, sorry?
Do you know all numbers?
No.
Which number don't you know?
The number which I don't know would be the number I'm not able to articulate because I don't know the numbers. The
Okay.
question already
I guess
commits
like
a category error.
what would be like the intention of the number that you don't know?
The intentions, you
Yeah.
said?
Yeah.
I don't know because I don't know the number you're talking about.
Okay, sure. So you're unable to name like
You're trying,
like
though.
a single number that you're not able to name. Like for example,
Excuse
like
me?
I think that it's reasonable to think that you have knowledge even if you don't like consciously know that you
Can
have
you
that
tell me
knowledge.
the
So for
largest
example,
number?
whoa, just calm down there. No need to get upset.
Can you tell
Just
me the
take a deep
largest number?
breath. Well, I don't
I'm
think there is a
taking a deep
largest
breath
number.
right now. Oh, really?
Yeah.
So there's no largest number.
Yep.
Could you tell me the largest number you can fathom right
Oh
now?
fuck, that's a blunder. Sure. So
that was
he
a
asked the
blunder?
first question,
Really?
realized it went to nowhere street, and now he's walking
Oh,
it
really?
back.
That
Yeah,
question
reel
was
that
me
one back
testing
in,
your
Apollo.
intelligence, Sonny boy.
Good dodge.
Answer the question.
Good work.
Answer
Good
the
work.
question. You
Wait,
forgot to
okay,
answer the
so do
second
you agree
question.
that you
Did
can have
not?
knowledge even if you don't consciously know
Still
that you have
dodged the
knowledge?
question.
Wait, answer
I
my
asked you a
question.
before
Yes or
that,
no?
actually.
Okay, what
I
I
asked you
can
a
do,
question
I can
before
just
that.
write it up on the screen, and then we can add the dodge counter to the screen.
Okay, so
So
we're going to count your
the
dodges for you.
question-
So is it going to be dodge number 1 for you, Ian? Let's go.
The question is going to be, Can you have
The
knowledge
question that I asked, or the question you asked after my question?
that
Which one
you
is it?
don't
Oh, that's dog one?
consciously
Oh
know
shit! Let's get it.
that you have?
Can you have knowledge that you don't consciously know that you have? Yeah, it's a logical possibility. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Sure.
Like,
So
for
like, what would be
example,
the
I
conditions
know
for that?
I don't. Yeah. So, for example, the conditions would be the conditions for knowledge, which is going to extrapolate to a lack of knowledge. So, for example, you can know, and before you interrupt, by the way, you can know
He's
that you don't know
shadowboxing.
where your mom is currently, right? Is that a possibility?
Yeah. But I know where your mom is
Okay.
currently, right? She's
Oh,
under my
wait, hold on a
table.
second. Oh, really? That was so funny, dude.
It was,
Now
yeah.
he's gonna derail to the actual, optical grandstand and stuff, where he's trying to jack himself off to
It's
the
not
universe,
a.
'cause he
Well,
can't
I don't
fix
need to
himself.
jack myself off, you know.
You're doing it
Both
right
hands
now.
up, you know. Your
You're
mom is already there doing
you're
it.
unable. Continue. Go on. I know you're seething right now because you have no action knowledge.
Bro, you
about
sound like
topic.
super upset. You should like seriously
I
calm
sound
down.
super upset. Oh, really,
You
Dr.
do.
Phil? Oh, we got a Dr. Phil cosplayer over here. God damn it, dude.
Well,
We gotta
I'm
go
just
to
like a
therapy
person who's
sessions.
capable of picking up like basic social cues. You sound really
That's kind
upset.
of ironic coming from someone who lacks basic social cues, but let's continue with the conversation,
Okay.
right? Shall we?
I'm
So
just not
let's
gonna
go back
take
to the
like social
mathematical
cue
point.
advice from you, Apollo. I'm
Oh,
so
you wanna-
sorry, right?
he's
Like
going
that's
up to a meta
crazy.
posture.
You
Gonna
know,
go
I'm
up to a
not
meta
I'm not
posture.
interested
Let's
in
go to
taking
the
like advice
mathematical
on how to
point.
succeed in social
Let's go to-
situations from you.
Continue.
You
Go
actually
on.
might be like more autistic
Let
than
out
I
your
am.
rage right now. You're going on.
Okay.
Can we get back
I
to the
think you're a bit
substance? Thank
delusional
you.
if you think that I'm like enraged.
So on the substance, which you're running away
So
from,
you didn't answer the
mathematics.
question.
So
You said it's
actually
just
did.
like
I said yes,
not
it's
the
a possibility.
conditions. Just like the opposite of the
said yes to
conditions
your
for
question.
knowledge.
I said it would be the conditions for knowledge, not the conditions for knowledge. What are
Okay,
you
so it's
talking
the
about?
conditions for knowledge, and then what?
The conditions for knowledge, which can determine the process of knowing what you do not know, which is based off your first question.
Which can determine
Fact.
the things you do not know.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Did you forget the point where you agree that you can know that you don't know where your mom is?
Yeah,
forgot
I
that
totally agree
concession?
with that. Yeah,
Oh,
but what I'm asking you
Okay,
for is
so
like,
you
what does
can
this
know what you
mean?
don't know, right?
Whoa, calm down
Yes or
there.
no?
The thing that's
Yes or no?
highlighted.
Don't dodge.
What does this mean?
You're
The thing that
dodging
you
right
just
now.
said.
Answer the question.
Whoa, calm down there, Apollo.
Answer the question.
It's literally highlighted on screen.
That's
What does
4
this
dodges
mean?
so far.
So he
You're having a
spat
long
out
streak
some
of
words
saying
and he didn't
idiotic
have
shit.
any sort of like thought behind them, which is why he's
You
unable
agreed
to
he knew
actually
what they were
follow
meant?
up
What are you
on
talking
any
about?
of this. He can't elaborate on what he means because he doesn't even know what he means. What does this mean, Apollo? Oh fuck, that was a really embarrassing
You're
laugh.
stumbling, dude.
Listen,
Dog,
if I had a laugh
just
like you have like the
relax.
Hassan Piker
Relax.
laugh.
Calm down.
If I had a laugh like that, I might
Relax.
just like not laugh, or maybe like I'd mute before
Are you gonna
laughing.
continue meta posture
Because it's
you
like
lack the
like kind of
intelligence to
embarrassing.
tackle the
That
arguments?
was like
Oh,
that was like kind of weird.
Anyways, dude, just relax and just focus on the goddamn arguments, okay? Which you
Okay,
can't focus
it's
on
like
because
hard
of
to it's hard
ADHD.
to relax with
It's
like
hard
your
to
Hassan
focus.
Piker laugh.
Definitely, of course. I agree with you. You have
I should
uncovered
get
definitely.
what
So let's
we should
focus
just
on
pull
the
up like a voice
substance.
clip of like Hassan
He's
Piker
just
laugh.
going off again. He wanted to go into a conversation about
I just
Hassan
think it's
Piker
important
laugh.
for you to like hear how similar it is.
I think it is important for the conversation to focus on the substance instead of actually talking about Hassan Piker laugh.
Bro, this is like
This
oh
is
wait,
a
I don't
bad
think that's
look.
the one. It's like I want the
Ian,
more
could you look at the
breathy
chat,
one.
please?
Like the high pitched one? Or?
Yeah.
Also, it seems like the disagreement.
Yes. Look at the chat.
What's the
Look in your own chat, dude.
why people like roasting the fuck out of you?
No, people are saying you're derailing. People are mocking you. They're like
Oh.
5 persons.
Bro,
I'll
the
name them
person
right
who's saying
now.
like
I'll
CIA
name
is
them right
losing
now.
it.
I'll name them
Do you
right
think that
now.
I'm like as illiterate as you
Oh,
are?
there's, like,
Right?
one or
Like
two
I'm looking at it. What we can do, we can like throw up a poll if you want.
So here's this right now. Look
I
at
guess
this,
we'll
gotcha.
just do that, right? We'll just throw up a
So-
poll.
So Deral of Hell, that's 5. 1 person, right? Another person specifically saying that Apollo has been knowledge gap in the whole debate and now it's just rhetoric. That's Ares. Let's keep on going up. Mascara said Apollo is spanking him. Let's keep on going. How many more people should I
Yeah,
keep
let's
on
just
going
put.
up?
I guess we'll throw up like a poll if you want. Oh
You're
gosh,
so
it's like
garbage,
the
dude.
humiliating laugh again.
Oh
That's
my
too bad.
God, dude. Yeah, it's a laugh,
Oof.
whereas I'm laughing as you
Gosh.
get humiliated
It's
currently.
like an
Yes,
obviously
gosh,
fake
dude.
laugh, which makes it like
Are
kind
you
of
going to actually
embarrassing.
go back to the
Like
substance?
high
Yeah, it's
key
definitely
embarrassing. Like you
embarrassing.
should seriously calm
Of
down.
course.
All right,
Like
the poll is
incel
up.
just
Oh,
going
you're
off
getting
again.
like poll mogged, unfortunately.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know,
we're
the
getting
people
poll
who are
mogged
here for
on
you
my
might be
panel.
loud, but they're definitely not the majority.
Definitely. So are you
Yeah.
gonna respond to the points?
Okay, wait. So are you done pre-coping
did
with
you not
chat,
agree
or
that
do
the
you want to
vast majority of the
post-cope?
people
Yeah,
are
move
not
off of it
listening?
quick, Apollo. Hopefully nobody notices the fact
really? Look at
that
him
you got
running
demolished in the
again.
poll. That it was like a complete
Oh,
bloodbath for
shit.
you. That you're literally losing. Like, oh
shit,
fuck. Wait, he's still trying to
dude.
overtalk me, but his
Oh,
microphone is
shit,
still
that's
too
crazy,
quiet.
bro.
He couldn't
That's
afford
crazy,
the loud
dude.
mic.
Oh shit.
He left
dude.
his loud mic at home. It's
Yeah,
not
people
gonna
need a
work.
loud mic while they're on the streets right now. Definitely, dude.
Yeah.
Of course. Now,
Wait, are
shout
you
out to
having this
mic
conversation on the
posture,
streets?
dude.
Holy shit, dude! Can you
Yeah, you
imagine
can
being
walk
like a
into a
person
conversation, dude.
on the streets and then you see this guy losing his fucking mind on the streets?
Oh, yeah,
Holy
definitely.
shit!
Of course, definitely.
That
You
would be
think
like
so?
crazy.
You think so? You think so?
Bro,
Yeah,
I would
it's
actually.
really crazy.
You
It's
might
your
see like
running.
somebody, like
Have
a
you tapped out the
caretaker, come
conversation?
along. You know, they're gonna put you
Have
in
you
like a
tapped
white
out the
padded room.
conversation?
Holy shit!
Have you tapped out the conversation?
Oh, I mean,
know.
I've been tapping your ass this
You've
entire
tapped out.
time.
Why are you stuttering, dude?
I'm tapping your ass this entire time. It's been fun.
tapping my ass
You
the
know,
entire time.
when I
You can-
come, I start
no
to
need to
stutter, and I've
project
just been
your
giving you rhetorical
homosexuality onto the
backshots this
conversation.
entire time.
I know
You know,
you're
beating you the
bisexual. I
fuck
know you're
down.
gay, dude, but you don't have to be projecting
You are
this onto the panel,
unironically
dude.
bisexual.
Oh, I'm
Like you are
unironic with that?
actively in like Discord relationships. Oh,
seriously?
fuck! I got like
Seriously?
secondhand embarrassment from the laugh again. Seriously, this guy's short
You're doing
circuiting.
this right now?
Seriously,
You're doing this
seriously,
right now? You
seriously.
admit
Stop
to
short
being
circuiting,
one. What are you
Apollo.
talking
Calm the
about?
fuck
So
down.
have you tapped to the conversation? Yes
All
or
the
no?
thing that
Don't
I'm
dodge.
tapping is your ass right now,
Yes
and
or
it feels
no?
good. It
So
feels
that's a
great.
dodge. That's
You
dodge
know,
number
you got
one.
your
Are we gonna answer the
back
question?
rhetorically blown
you
out. You're
tapped
getting
out the
rhetorical
theistic
back shots right
conversation?
now.
Yes or
Face
no?
up,
Yes
face
or no?
down, ass up.
Face up.
Face up. Yeah, I play Apollo
You
face
stuttered
up
over your
to
rhetorical
finish me
jab,
off.
dude. Bro, you don't even know how to rhetorically posture properly. You're stumbling
Nuh-uh.
over your insults and your jabs.
Nuh-uh.
You need the script right now.
Nuh-uh.
dude. Anyways, have you tapped
Nope.
out to the theistic conversation? Yes or no?
No, of course not.
Okay, so let's get back to the theistic
Yeah,
conversation.
Apollo,
you're
would you
running
say
from.
that? Would you
Right,
say
so
that like
hold on a second, cause you
if
said you're
an
imagining
all-knowing
infinity.
being
So
believes
are
something
you
that thing
saying-
is true?
Look at them running.
Would you say that if an all-knowing being believes something that thing is true?
Absolutely.
Sure. And does an all-knowing being know that an all-knowing being exists?
If an all-knowing being knows an all-knowing being exists,
Does an all-knowing being know that an all-knowing being exists?
like if they have justified true belief, yeah, of course.
Sure. So then you would concede that an all-knowing being exists.
You understand that
You
that's
just
what's-
conceded the debate, dude.
No,
Holy
it
shit.
was
Wait, let me
not.
write this
No,
up.
it was
So
not.
if an
You
all-knowing
said
being
if it is the case, that doesn't mean
believes
the
something,
antecedent is correct.
then it's true.
What is he talking about?
An
You
all-knowing
understand
being
that agreeing that something is
knows
the case under
that an
condition doesn't
all-knowing
mean
being
that the antecedent is
exists.
correct.
Therefore, an all-knowing being exists.
We're talking about the conditional sentence. What he's talking about.
Sure,
That
wait,
was a
so
huge
so
blunder.
okay, which of these premises do you want to claw back because you blundered?
That was not even a blunder. You
Sure, do
stipulated
you accept
that
both
if
of
you-
these
you
premises that if
take
an all-knowing being
agreement-
believes something,
Look
then
at
it's true?
running
An
again.
all-knowing being knows that an all-knowing
on,
being
continue.
exists, therefore an
I'm with you,
all-knowing
son.
being exists? Which of these would you reject? You actually accepted
granting
both
the
premises
deductive
already. We
validity
have it
of
on
the
recording.
argument.
Do you concede that this is a valid argument?
Agreeing it's a valid argument doesn't mean you're agreeing it's a sound
You
argument.
agreed to the premises, and you agree that it's valid, so
agree
you
to
agree that the
condition
conclusion
that If
follows.
an all-knowing being knows that an all-knowing being exists, then it would in fact
No,
exist.
the
That
question
your
was,
question.
if an all-knowing
That was
being
your
believes something,
question.
then is it true? Wait, I literally have a recording. Let's just play the
You forgot your own
recording.
question.
Let's play the
You forgot your
recording
own
back.
question?
It's exactly what's on screen.
Wait, just a second.
No,
Okay,
of course
definitely.
not.
Okay, so let's get back to the
Yeah,
conversation
Apollo,
you're
would you
running
say
from.
that? Would you
Right,
say that
so
like
hold on a second, cause you
if
said you're
an
imagining
all-knowing
infinity.
being believes
So are
something
you
that thing
saying-
is true?
Look at them.
So that's the first question. If an all-knowing being believes something, then that thing's true. That's the first premise.
Running.
Would you say that if an all-knowing being believes something that thing is true?
Absolutely.
Sure. And does an all-knowing being know that an all-knowing being exists?
If an all-knowing being knows an all-knowing being exists,
Does an all-knowing being know that an all-knowing being exists?
like if they have justified true belief, yeah, of course.
Sure. So you agree to both premises and you agree that it's valid.
The
You just conceded the
response was
conclusion. You
based on the
concede premise
conditional
one. You
sentence.
concede
Oh my-
premise two. You concede that it's valid, but you
Are you
reject
done?
the conclusion.
Still going off.
Bro,
Okay,
even
so
even
just
on
to
April
respond to your
Fools,
point,
Apollo is
the
still a
recorded-
theist. That's
the
like the thing that he
recorded-
can't get past. You know,
recorded-
he accepts
the
the
recorded-
first. Ooh, is he slurring? He wants to
Not
get
done?
kicked so
Not done
badly.
talking? Not done talking?
God damn, this dude got blown the fuck out.
No
You
one
accept
do-
the
no
first
one is
premise,
even
accept the
slurring. What are
second
you
premise,
talking
accept
about?
that it's valid, but
It's
you
a
reject the
conditional
conclusion.
sentence.
Did you or did you
The
not
whole
agree?
context- I did not agree with the second
You didn't
premise.
say yes?
I was agreeing that an all-knowing being knows that an all-knowing being exists under the condition that if it actually believes that it will be the case and it actually exists, that would be correct. The whole
Let's
context
replay
of
it.
your questions was you talking about a conditional sentence, was it
Being
not?
believes
So are
something
you
that yeah,
saying,
let's replay it.
look at him, he's dodging again. Running
Would you
to the
say that if
question. I
an
interrupted
all-knowing
my
being
question.
believes something that thing is true?
Absolutely.
Sure. And does an all-knowing being know that an all-knowing being exists?
If an all-knowing being knows an all-knowing being exists,
Does an all-knowing being know that an all-knowing being exists?
like if they have justified true belief, yeah, of course.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. So an all-knowing being
I
does
said
know that
if
an
you
all-knowing
have
being
justified
exists.
true belief.
Yes,
If
and an
you have
all-knowing
justified
being
true
would have
belief,
justified true
doesn't mean that
beliefs,
he has
correct?
justified true belief.
Is an all-knowing being knowing?
That stipulates that an all-knowing being exists.
Oh, sorry, wait, then you should have added that before you accepted the premise. Sorry, critical
That was
blunder
an
on your
acceptance of
part.
the premise.
Fucking brutal blunder. Unfortunately,
you
you accepted the premise. Do you
still
take the premise back now?
screaming out right
You need
now.
to
That's not me
take the
accepting
premise
the
back. You know,
premise.
you put the premise forward. Needs
That's
to
not
take
me
the premise
accepting the
back after getting
premise.
spawn killed on this argument.
Wow, wonderful
It's
comeback.
literally
Now,
clipped
that's not me
you agreeing to
accepting
both of the
premise.
premises.
I said if it has justified true belief. That's not me saying it does have
Sorry, does
justified true
a
belief. that this
square
exists.
have four sides?
Absolutely.
Sure. So okay, does like an all-knowing being is an all-knowing being all-knowing?
Is an all-knowing being all-knowing?
Yeah.
Like, does it know all true propositions?
Just is it all-knowing? Is an all-knowing being all-knowing?
By all-knowing, do you mean does it know all true propositions? Yes or no?
Yeah, sure.
It's the same sense in both.
And is that
both
something
have.
which you're saying is true of the world?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so it's not something which is true of the world necessarily. So what is it about? In the
Okay,
context
sure.
of the
Wait. So
question?
then, why is it true necessarily of the world that a square has four sides?
Never made that claim. Try
You
the
just did. You
conversation
just
and
said a
answer my
square has four
question.
sides. You just said it.
We're talking about the omniscient being
Oh
currently.
God, a second blunder. Holy shit.
That was the blunder. We're
Oh
talking about the
boy,
omniscient
that was
being
like the
currently, not
infinity
the square
blunder. It was like
sides.
2 seconds ago. You said the square has four sides.
We're talking about an omniscient being, and if it
Yeah,
is
now
true
you're
or not,
pivoting
it's
away from
all-knowing.
it. You know, you didn't need
That's not
to.
pivoting away.
You didn't need to
You
specify
went
for
to
the
the
square
second
that if the
question, and
square
then
exists
afterwards
and
you
it has
went back
four
to the first
sides.
question. We're talking about the second question, which is the most recent question, which is about your question about omniscience, right? And I said specifically, are you saying that that's true of the world? And you said not necessarily.
Yeah, not
And
necessarily.
then I asked you a clarifying question. Then they went back to the previous question.
It's just like
which
a
is irrelevant to the
conceptual
current
truth of an
question.
all-knowing being, that an all-knowing being knows all things, which means that it's going to know that
Oh.
an all-knowing being exists.
Oh, yeah. So that's analytically true. Does it
Yeah.
commit me to it existent? Yes or no?
Yes.
You think analytic facts commits you to believe that something exists?
Yeah. Specifically.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that
So
like an
I
all-knowing
define-
being, if an all-knowing being knows that it exists, then yeah.
Oh, seriously. So there's a concept named no-no. And the no-no knows that
I'm
God
sure
does
you
not
hear
exist.
no a lot every time you try to
Answer
seduce
the
somebody.
question.
I hear you hear
You
I bet
believe
you
that
hear
that
also no.
specifically would
I bet you
entail
hear all
existence?
iterations of the KK
Running.
theorem every single time you try
Running
to
from the
seduce
question.
somebody. You know, every single
Running
time
from the
you ask
question.
somebody out on a date, you
Running
get
from
some
the
iteration
question.
of the no
Do you
theorem.
believe that it would be the case that this thing exists because it's analytically true that no does not know, or sorry, knows that God does not exist? You have to
Sorry,
believe that
what
to
are you
believe that thing
asking?
exists. No, by definition, knows
Are
that
you having
God
like a
does not
seizure?
exist.
Do you want to ask it in like
No,
some
you're
sort of
having a
normal
seizure
way?
right now. Oh, really? Seriously, that was your
No,
best
no,
comeback?
no, no,
Answer the
no,
question.
no, no,
Stumbled over your words
Is it
again
the
as
case
you're
that no,
attempting
no,
to
no,
give a
no,
mockery.
no? Do you want
Really?
to?
That was your best one?
Yeah, it was pretty
Holy
good. Yeah.
mistrack of doom and despair. Let's get back to the substance, however. So, no, by definition, knows that God does not exist. That's an analytic fact.
The fuck is
now,
no?
given your position, no is just the being that knows that God does not exist, and it's analytically sure that it knows that proposition. Now, would it be the case that you believe that this thing exists because you believe that anything with analytic facts per your
No,
own
insofar
agreement
as that's a
exists?
logical impossibility.
Wait, you said analytic facts
Yeah,
entails
that they
existence,
could.
right?
Or that they
So
could entail it.
you
Ooh,
said they
blunder
do.
on your
You
part.
said they do. Roll
Blunder
back the
on your
recording.
part. I said that they
Roll back the
could.
recording.
Said that they could.
Roll back the recording.
Ooh, I said that they could. You can check the
Roll
recording.
back the recording.
You can go
Roll it
check the
back.
recording. Go check it.
I think
Why
the
why
problem
not
is the
roll back
question is
recording
ambiguous, right?
Roll back the
Like
clip.
answering yes to do analytic
Wait,
truths commit you to
Charsky,
existence.
just to be clear on a couple of things, right? Did Ian not roll back the clip a while ago to prove me wrong? So why not roll back the clip right now to prove me wrong again?
Oh, because I already closed the
Presumably.
page.
Then open the page right now.
No, make me. Oh yeah,
This is
the
so
Hassan
bad for you,
Piker laugh
dude.
again. Let's hear it.
Oh my
'Cause
god.
my memory is the question was, do
Oh
analytic
my
truths
God.
commit you to existence? But that
That
could
was
be
terrible.
interpreted to mean like does agreeing to an analytic truth commit you to the existence of the things?
I asked him a
posited?
blatant yes or no question. I asked him,
Yeah,
does
but I
he
think
believe
the
that
question
it
is
commits me to believe that
ambiguous.
God exists?
Oh, sorry, not that question.
And
I thought
he's
you were
like-
talking about a different
Yeah,
question.
no, I was saying like Charsky, if you're like listen, I'm not sure you're like listen because you're perhaps like away. But the most recent question, by the way, was me asking him if he believes that analytic facts would commit you into believing that that thing exists, and he said yes. It was like a yes or no question, and so I used the no example as a reductio. Then he can't agree currently that this thing exists because if he agrees this exists, then his proposition is false, which is that God exists for this debate.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the reason that's why he won't roll back the clip is because he did in fact agree on this.
My understanding is that the question was something like, do analytic facts commit you to the existence of the object or the entities talked about in the analytic facts? I think Ian was answering
Yeah,
yes,
like could
in some
they?
cases, like
Yeah.
they could, where I think do they is sort of ambiguous because it could mean like, are there
Okay.
some instances where they do, or it could mean do they in all instances?
Okay, I got the recording pulled back up. Let's see it.
Being all knowing.
By all knowing, do you mean does it know all true propositions? Yes or no?
Yeah, sure.
It's the same sense in both.
And is that
both
something
times.
which you're saying is true of the world?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so it's not something which is true of the world necessarily. So what is it about? In the
Okay, sure. Wait. So then, why is it true necessarily of the world that a square has four sides?
Never made that claim. Try
You
the
just did. You
conversation
just
and
said.
that-
Wait,
square
actually,
has
wait
four
for because this
sides.
is
You
like a
just
fun
said it.
contradiction. I'll back up
We're
a bit
talking
even
about
farther.
additional-
Oh,
Additional sentence was it
Being
not?
believes
So are
something
you
that
yeah. Let's
saying-
replay it.
Look at him. He's dodging again. Running.
Would you say that if a all-knowing being believes something that thing is true?
Absolutely.
Sure. And does an all-knowing being know that an all-knowing being exists?
If an all-knowing being knows an all-knowing being exists,
Does an all-knowing being know that an all-knowing being exists?
like if they have justified true belief, yeah, of course.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. So an all-knowing being does know that
If
an
you
all-knowing
have
being
justified
exists.
true belief.
Yes,
If
and an
you have
all-knowing
justified
being
true
would have
belief,
justified true
doesn't mean that
beliefs,
he has
correct?
justified true belief.
Is an all-knowing being knowing?
That stipulates that an all-knowing being exists.
Oh, sorry, wait, then you should have added that before you accepted the premise. Sorry, critical
was the
blunder on your
acceptance of
part.
the premise.
Fucking brutal blunder. Unfortunately, you accepted the premise. Do you
still
take the premise back now?
screaming out right
You need
now.
to
That's not me
take the
accepting
premise
the
back. You know,
premise.
you put the premise forward. Needs
That's
to
not
take
me
the premise
accepting the
back after getting
premise.
spawn killed on this argument.
Wow, wonderful.
It's literally clipped
That's not me
you agreeing to
accepting
both of the
premise.
premises.
I said if it has justified true belief. That's not me saying it does have
Sorry, does
justified
a
true
does
belief
a
that this
square
exists.
have four sides?
Absolutely.
Sure. Okay, wait. So pausing that, a square does have four sides. He makes the claim now. Okay, just like an all-knowing being, is an all-knowing being all-knowing?
Is an all-knowing being all-knowing?
Yeah.
Like, does it know all true propositions?
Just is it all-knowing? Is an all-knowing being all-knowing?
By all-knowing, do you mean does it know all true propositions? Yes or no?
Yeah, sure.
It's the same sense in both.
And is that
both
something
times.
which you're saying is true of the world?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so it's not something which is true of the world necessarily. So what is it about? In the
Okay, sure. Wait. So
question?
then, why is it true necessarily of the world that a square has four sides?
Never made that claim. Try
You
the
just
conversation.
did. Sure. Wait. So okay, Apollo. Would you recognize that that's like a straight contradiction? That you make
No.
the claim that you never made the claim that a square has four sides, and then you did make the claim.
No, you asked me the question. Did
We
you
can watch
agree
it back.
that- We can watch it back again, but before you watch it back, what I said specifically was, you asked me, did you agree that a square necessarily has four sides? Your question did not bake in the modal operator. I just said, yes, it does have four sides. Not that it necessarily has four sides. Which even if I
did
believe
not agree
that to
with
be true, that's not something I said.
Does a square necessarily have four sides?
Yep, that's what I believe in. However, that's not what I said. In the
Okay, sure.
conversation.
So necessarily a square does have four sides. So does that contradict the claim that you make here, where you say a square doesn't necessarily have four sides?
No, I said I never said that. I never made that claim. Not that a square does not necessarily have four sides.
Okay, sure. So then you were just like dodging to be evasive.
No, because you said that I said this. I'm saying I never said this. That's not me dodging. That's me giving a direct.
I mean, I
response.
would take that to be like if you're saying that like a square has four sides. I mean, I would take that to mean that you're saying that like necessarily a square has four sides
Bro, I'm
insofar
saying
as
that
it's an
in that
abstract
part of the
object.
conversation, where he asked me the question about the square, I never said a square necessarily has four sides. I said it has four sides.
Okay, I guess like this is probably just like and I have autism too, so it's okay. Probably just a side effect of the autism that you're not capable of tracking or parsing like basic English sentences. And
course, you can
he's
say
about
that.
to hit the Hassan Piker laugh once
Of
more.
course, I'm gonna hit the Hassan Piker laugh again and again, as much as you want to. Actually.
Yeah.
So let's get back to the
You didn't
segment.
say
Line
good. It's
pause,
great
you mistried
content
that
every
part.
single time. It's like rhetorical suicide every single time. You know, you take like your
just stole my line,
rhetorical
by
like
the way.
suicide capsule.
You stole my line. I said you were committing optical suicide before, and you stole that to use the rhetorical version.
Yeah.
Nice try, though.
Yep. Yeah, I do steal good rhetoric, of course.
Oh, I appreciate
Is that a
it, man.
problem?
No, it is not.
Say yes.
I was agreeing. That's an all.
Oh fuck! I gotta go to an interview in like 8 minutes. Damn.
Brutal.
Time really flies. Well, thanks for coming up. It was fun talking. Fuck! I wish we got to debate some actual like atheists.
That would have been fun. That would have been fun. Wait, I'm not lighting up. Can you hear me?
Nope. What do we got? Excitations in the wave function are the sound waves of Gaunt speaking the universe into existence. Excellent, excellent, excellent. True. Death level. Thanks so much. You win. Take my money. Let's get a big W for death level. Okay, let's get a massive W for KMB. I appreciate the fuck out of it.
Let's go.
Wait. Oh, wait. Friction? You'll debate?
Let's go. I mean, this guy, known Apollo victim. So since you've already dispatched Apollo, I'm sure.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
more
By
transitivity.
fuck. What's like the operator? It's like, is it transitivity?
Yeah, I don't think transitivity isn't an operator, but by transitivity, you know, we might say that you'll dispatch destroyer similarly, or destroyer rather.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
I've been seeing this dude's low tier Substacks.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That is good. How you doing?
Doing very well. Doing very well. So you're going to be representing the atheist position?
No. What? I'm a Christian.
Oh, okay, sure, of course, yeah.
Concession immediately. Let's go.
Yeah, what makes you think that Christianity is true?
It was revealed to me.
Okay. Well, Ganesh came down and revealed to me the opposite, so what are we supposed to do here?
Well, I don't believe you.
Okay, I don't believe you.
That's interesting.
Okay. We can just go into like Hindu miracles and we can get your critiques of them. You know, what would you make of the fact that Shanti Kali, like a Hindu priest in like the 2000s, you know, he got killed by Christians who were demanding that he converted to Christianity, but because he had visions of Ganesh and all the rest of those guys, he was like, no, I know Hinduism is true. You think he'd die for a lie?
No, that's probably just Satan working in his
okay.
mischievous ways.
Okay.
So
sure, that's a really good point. Yeah. You know, although I do of course think that, you know, what's happening for you is just Kali is coming down and you know, deceiving you, a little trickster.
yeah, except that God revealed it to me in a way about which I can't be wrong. So
fuck, that's compelling.
I love it when that happens. I love it when God reveals.
It's a cheat. It's kind of a cheat code, you know.
It's a really chill thing God does for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because like otherwise we couldn't have like knowledge or intelligibility or laws of nature
right,
or logic
that's
or mathematics or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good thing that I'm never wrong about any of my sense data, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Otherwise there'd be like some problem there.
That's right. I agree with that.
Yeah. Detroyer, do you have any thoughts on I read your Substacks from time to time. I know you made the video about like presuppositionalism. Do you have any thoughts on what logic might be grounded in or any of that?
What logic might be grounded in. So like it depends on what you're asking, because I don't believe in any sort of, if you're asking whether logical propositions are things, or something like that.
Or like, I guess like, do you think like logic like supervenes on something?
Logic. So like, is it a question about whether a certain logical principle is true or a logical consequence relation is true?
I guess like why do these like laws of logic, what explains the fact that these laws of logic hold? Assuming that there is like some set and that we're not like pluralists or whatever.
So take a logical principle, if that's what you have in mind, something like the quote unquote law of non-contradiction.
Mm-hmm.
That's true just in case there are no true contradictions.
Sure, so you just think like what they're grounded in is just like what they're in some sense grounded in is like the fact that they just like hold in all those cases. Like the truth maker in that instance is just that there is no like counterexample.
Yeah, so it might be a little bit tricky to spell out exactly what all the propositions are, but like, you know, I think we have roughly an idea of like claims about the world or about what things are the case, and there's none such that it's true and its negation is also true. That's how I understand. Isn't that what the law of non-contradiction is stating?
Yeah, sure.
Like
Do you think that, because I think a lot of people would want to say that the explanatory relation goes the reverse way, that the law of non-contradiction explains the, like, why the states of affairs are the way that they are, but you seem to be saying that it's like reverse, that because there are no true contradictions, that explains the law of non-contradiction.
Well, I'm not sure how to understand the reverse. I would think that a law of non-contradiction is a, you know, you can assert it. It's just saying that there are no true contradictions. If there are no true contradictions, then it's true. I mean, I don't know what else would it mean to say that the law of non-contradiction is true. Now, you might think that, okay, that's what makes it true if it is true, I guess, but like also the law or something else is like constraining the world in such a way or exerting some influence on the world to make it the case that there are no true contradictions. But I don't really understand that myself, because like if you say that, you know, it's not the case that you know, it's both raining somewhere on Earth and not raining anywhere on Earth, okay, or not raining somewhere on Earth to make it more explicit. That's false, right? It's not both true that it's raining somewhere else and not raining somewhere on Earth. But what makes that false is like some logical principle or something else like that. I don't like, what influence does that have over like the rain conditions? You know what I mean?
Sure. Okay. I suppose I think that makes sense. Yeah. Gosh, I want to pick your brain sometime about like eternal universe stuff. I know that you've been doing. I see that you have like a new paper coming out with Joe Schmidt.
That's right. Yeah, it's just responding to a pretty bad article by Andrew Look, but
is there any like motivation for thinking?
and Eli Haitov is a co-author on that, but yeah, sorry, go on.
Is there like any motivation for thinking that it's possible? Like, okay, why doesn't the theist just like bite the bullet and say like, no, it's not possible for there to be like an infinite future?
Well, yeah, I think some might do this, but a lot of religious commitments would be in tension with that, and it's maybe implausible for other reasons. So like, there are people who think that there's going to be an eternal future sort of in heaven. Yeah. And even if that's not the same, like even if time in this realm sort of runs out, they don't want to say that an infinite future is impossible, because that would also rule out an infinite future in heaven. Now, you could take different views. Like you could say, no, actually heaven is temporally finite in that way, or heaven isn't even temporal in this way, so it doesn't even make sense to talk about its being a future eternal. But I do, you know, I mean, a lot of them do want to say things like, yeah, we are going to live forever in some sense when in heaven or in hell. You know? The other thing is, just, it seems like a weird bullet to bite, right? If your argument ends up committing to the conclusion that there can't be, like the future must come to an end at some point. However plausible an argument against an infinite past is, that one just seems like your argument's proving more than it should. Now, of course, yeah, someone could just bite the bullet and just reject either the religious or theological views on which would be incompatible with that, or just say that, yeah, okay, we have reason to think there's a finite future.
Okay, sure, that makes sense. I don't know. I've been thinking about like theories of time recently, about how it seems like there seems to be like some dilemma about like, okay, it doesn't. I think I'm convinced by a lot of what Ryan Mullins says about like specifically for God, that there would need to be some sort of change in order to bring the universe into existence, like a change within God. But then like more generally, it kind of seems like there would need to be like some sort of change. It seems like if time comes into existence, then there would be like some state without change that changes into a state with change. which appears to be like a contradiction. But that's only true if like presentism is true, not if like eternalism is true. Because if eternalism is true, you can just have like the start point and like the stop point or whatever. But then if eternalism is true, then like, I don't know, the future seems to be an example of an actual infinite. So it seems like no matter how you parse it, there needs to be like an actual infinite. I don't know.
I mean, you could be an internalist and think if by eternalist you're just talking about
yeah, like all is actual, like past, present, future.
Yeah, but that view is compatible with the future being finite.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I agree with that. But insofar as we like prima facie have reason to think it's at least possible that future is infinite.
Yeah, well, yeah, we might think that. I mean, the people that are going to think that you can't have the people from before whose arguments against a past eternal universe, if that generalizes the future eternal universe, then well, okay, the Goth's going to reject it here. But yeah, supposing that it would be infinite, yeah, some of them may reject eternalism on that ground, I suppose.
Sure.
Because it would be an actual infinite. But just getting to the point about whether the initial creation requires some change on eternalism or presentism, it's unclear because I'm not really even sure how to think about causation in this context. Like, what is it to cause a universe atemporally, so to speak?
Yeah.
Either, and that seems to me something unclear about whether we think of the universe as something such that time as a presentist theory is correct, or some sort of B theoretic theory is correct. I'm not really sure how to understand that, so it's like not really clear what what we can draw from that. Like, is that actually coherent or is it not? I'm not even sure what that would look like. So it's hard to say a lot more without sort of filling in some of the details about how that causal relation is supposed to be.
Yeah, that's true. Also, it seems like,
but that could be a shortcoming on my part. Maybe some people have some understanding of that.
I've looked a little bit into the literature for like atemporal models of causation, but they're all like counterfactual models. And it, I think his name is Evan Fales. Evan Fales gives a critique of God following some sort of like counterfactual model, and the critique is like the whatever the power is that's responsible for like the causation happening would need to reduce to like something other than counterfactuals. I think Quentin Smith also has like a separate critique of it, that a counterfactual model, because okay, if the universe doesn't exist, then God did not create it. And if God does not create the universe, then the universe does not exist. Well, it seems like there's like a counterfactual going both ways there. So it doesn't seem like the counterfactual model is a good match for God either. So it just seems like there isn't much literature as to what an atemporal causal relation would really look like.
Yeah. So there's multiple things there. Yeah. So you might worry that it's not asymmetric in the way that we would expect causation to be, but also, I mean, yeah, there's at least naive counterfactual accounts of causation are very unpopular these days, for a good reason. But yeah, it might even get more mysterious in this case. Like if in some sense they're sort of occurring simultaneously, or one of them's not even in time, like why call the first one the cause of the second one? Maybe you want to say, well, actually, it's like maybe if you tried some agent causal view and it's God sort of agent causes it, and sort of God would exist regardless. But
sure.
But then his activity, I don't know. Maybe his being active in that way sort of would kind of factually depend on the universe existing. So I'm not sure.
It definitely seems to make very like mysterious. Like, I think the relation itself is very unclear. I also think the relata are like super unclear to me. And I think that problem gets much worse if you hold to something like divine simplicity, where it seems like you must be committed to a view of saying that God just is like whatever the fundamental relata turn out to be. So if it turns out that causation is like fundamentally a relation between events, then you need to say that God is an event because he's like identical to his willing. Probably they don't want to say that. You'd probably have to say something that's like crazy, like agent causation is the fundamental relata, but that sounds like deeply implausible. So I don't know. Sounds.
Yeah, well, I think there's some, divine simplicity is implausible for other reasons too. But just a further thing on if you appeal to some sort of counterfactual kind of causation in this case, it does seem like I would wonder why. Like, suppose you say it's true, like that had God not created in this way, then the universe wouldn't exist, and so on. Well, what makes that counterfactual true? Like, what is it about God's activity and the universe that explains why that's the case? Because if it's just some sort of brute asserted counterfactual claim, then I don't know. That seems to me kind of pushing the mystery back a level.
Yeah, sure. That it seems like there needs to be like causal power that comes from elsewhere. Otherwise, you have like.
Well, that's not to say that there couldn't be an explanation, but it just seems a bit mysterious to me. Yeah.
Well, the critique of this that I've heard is that you're gonna need to like counterfactuals are probably they probably play like some role in causation, but whatever the causal power is needs to explain why counterfactuals obtain. It's not that the counterfactual is explaining like causation. That there seems to be I don't know. It seems to be there's like a problem with what's meant to ground what. It seems like the causal power should be the thing that grounds counterfactuals, not the other way around.
Yeah, so there are people that take this sort of view. I mean, it's maybe getting they sort of Aristotelian views about modality and so on. I mean, I'm personally, well, I guess I would accept a modality construed in that way, but I'm, I have more almost deflationary views about modality. So I'm willing to say that you could construct all the different modalities you want. I'm fine constructing one where, on some specification of the quote-unquote causal powers, those constrain what the modal facts are and so on. But I'm fine also construing one the other way. And I don't think one is privileged in some ultimate sense.
Okay.
But that's a whole other issue.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Hey, if anybody, if you're enjoying this conversation, you should definitely check out Detroyer's YouTube channel, Friction Philosophy. He interviews like a lot of great people. I've seen like a lot of the interviews. I watched the one with Ray Briggs. That one was good.
Oh, yeah.
It was interesting.
Yeah, I did another one not that long ago on some gender stuff too with Kevin Richardson.
Do you take any stances on that, or are you like agnostic to it?
Yeah, I mean, sort of. It's kind of complicated because like there's different questions we are often asking, like when we dispute these things. Like one is a question about how are gender terms like normally used? Like what is the extension of those terms given like typical use of them, at least in relevant linguistic communities? I mean, I would ask how it generalizes, and there I want to say like if that's the question, like, and you ask on those uses are, for example, trans women, I would probably say like generally not, maybe sometimes, but like if you ask me like as a matter of descriptive semantics, I'm inclined to say that probably looks like it wouldn't count as that.
Sure, just like and that's like strictly a claim about like how people actually use the word.
Yeah, or like the most common use of the word, because
sure.
These words get used in different ways. But then beyond that, there's like questions of, well, there are different legitimate uses of these terms, and maybe there are reasons to use them in ways other than what's like most common. Language evolves, and so there's this, I guess, more
like the normative case.
Yeah, there's a sort of normative question, or it could be like social, political, whatever, of like what usage should we be concerned with, or maybe how should we evolve our language in a way. And that might be for different purposes. Maybe a certain language's way to use it is more descriptive, or more it captures things that people actually care about, whereas the prior language does not. Maybe people care about things like other things that get associated with gender, quote unquote, how people feel psychologically and gender roles and stuff that might be downplayed or left out of what I'm calling the kind of current or historical common use. So all that being said, yeah, I guess I would be pro at least recognizing these other senses of gender terms that are sensitive to psychological and role-based facts and stuff like that. But if you're asking me just as a matter of descriptive fact, like, is that the right account of the terms as they're normally used? Generally not, I would say no. Although I would say that it's not as clean as people want to say on any side. Like, so like people want to say that it's, no, gender terms are just capturing things about sex or purely biological facts about gamete production or something like that. And I think that's not correct either, although that's not a terrible model. It's not exactly correct. Like, the extensions are going to be kind of close.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, in terms of the extensions, I think that's probably true. Do you think, do you find like the cluster characteristic view to be compelling for the descriptive question?
Yeah, well, I think something like that is going to be more accurate. But then the question is like, what sort of features are relevant to the cluster and how are they weighted? So I'm going to say things like, so other things apart from secondary sex characteristics and so on are going to be relevant. That's going to include things like how people present themselves and maybe other things like that that you might associate with more behavior and presentation and psychological stuff. But in general, I think those are going to be sort of less important on the more common uses of the term than things like secondary sex characteristics and stuff that we'd be tracking biologically. So that seems all fine to me. But that's why I would want to say that, and it's fine if you want to. Well, someone could dispute that that's how the term functions, but that's just my impression of the in this descriptive semantic sense. But that's not to say that, well, okay, that's the correct use of it or something like that. That's one use of it that's probably, I think, more dominant, at least presently. But there's other legitimate uses, and maybe there's reasons to attend to or adopt those other uses into our vernacular.
Okay, sure, that makes sense. I have to get going. I have like an interview, but thanks for stopping by to chat. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah,
Yep.
And if people do want to listen to some boring philosophy, I'm plenty of that on my channel. Yeah. But thanks.
Everyone should check it out. Okay, let me read some super chats. I also released a new video on my YouTube channel. It's titled "Christian Gets Folded by His Own Tactic." Let's watch the.
Okay, so like, what are you gonna do if you die and God is real? Like, what are you gonna do?
I guess I'm gonna say as I like burn in hellfire probably. Hey, how's it going? So go give that a watch. It's quick. It's titled like Christians Debate Tactic Backfires. Let's read some more supers. Gottman Unz is actually a prophecy about Mittens Romney being born in America and having binders full of women. What the fuck does that mean? Charsky, explain yourself.
This is somehow my fault, certainly. I mean, I guess it's referring to the fact that LDS, Mormons think that there's lots of stuff in the Bible that's a prophecy about Joseph Smith, and also some stuff about Native Americans. I think that's what they're going for. And I guess Mittens Romney is a Mitt Romney spoof, if I'm
sure.
being correct on it.
Yeah. Wait, is it true that Joseph Smith was like a con man before doing?
Yes. Yeah.
That collapses my fucking priors, dude.
Look, man. A lot of the apostles were bad people too. Before they were. Paul was a great persecutor of the church before he converted. So, he was arrested on charges of like using seer stones to find hidden treasure and stuff, and money dig.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow, that's like It's like massively
it's-
unfortunate.
It's certainly the sort of thing that you would not expect. Like it just makes he was duping people explanation. Well, actually, I don't think, and this is the thing I think more broadly about a lot of religious figures. It seems like a lot of them really do believe a lot of this stuff, like, or at least aren't like super constantly consciously deceiving people. It seems like most of these people end up believing lots of it, but it definitely does not. I mean, it's just, if I told you there's a weird fake guy who's pretending to be a religious leader, and I said, do you think it's likely that he was maybe a con man before? I think you'd think, yeah, probably.
Sure. Have you seen the one Mormon apologist who's been like making the rounds on like Christian debate YouTube?
Jacob, what's his name? Jacob.
He's been like beating the fuck out of people by making like the knockdown argument, which is like my stuff is just as silly as your stuff.
Which is true. Yeah. I most of what I've seen from him is Trinity stuff.
That's so funny. Damn, the Trinity really is like a fucking albatross.
It is brutal. I mean, there's the step of like getting it clear and logically consistent, but then there's the step of like, okay, sure, you can give this logically consistent model. Are you sure this is like what we would think the fundamental, like the creator of the universe is like? Like, are you sure? Like, that seems pretty implausible to me.
Yeah.
But like even once you get the sort of model off the ground that that this is what the creator of the universe is like, is this very weird, logical model of a, one being, three persons.
Yeah. And then like it's like embarrassing to even mention, but like the a priori arguments that people give for the Trinity, where it's like, well, you need exactly three in order to have like that agape love. No, it wouldn't work with four people. No.
Yeah. Did you watch the Amos Mullen debate with was it Sijuati?
Yeah. I watched the start of it though. That's right, because he does make arguments of that sort. Fuck, dude. All those arguments are like the worst thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah, I've never been particularly persuaded, but
I just haven't heard like a good explanation for like why not 4? Why not 5? Like,
yeah, maybe it's about like for the same reason you might want to say that like, okay, just simply love. It's enough to have just 2 people. And so you'd expect 2 people rather than like 8, because you can have love, but it's like less simple or something. I don't know. But there's probably things that people say, but
well, you need 4 in order to have the good of like team competition, in order to have like the 2v2 like tennis match between the persons, right? Like that's a good that can't be achieved by like the Trinity, and it also can't be achieved by like just 2, and certainly it can't be achieved by 1. So you need like at least 4. Like, that's what the arguments sound like to me, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely how they sound to me. I haven't read, I'm sure there's people who have things to say about this, but yeah. I haven't read much beyond I think it's the Sijuati paper.
Sure, I haven't even read that. But people speak highly of Sijuati.
He's a smart guy. Not persuaded, but
apparently he has a book coming out that solves the entire problem of evil. It's all going to be gone soon.
That's good. I was worried about that.
Yeah.
We're totally good.
Yeah, gosh.
That's great.
I feel like it like worsens divine hiddenness. That like the solutions to these problems are coming out 2,000 years after the fact. Like,
yeah. I mean, the thing that I think I want to say, if I, putting the theist hat on, what I want to say about divine hiddenness is that there's something good about like this kind of collective project of figuring out God's nature through like, philosophy and dialogue with one another. And like, that's why all the good arguments have only shown up in the past, like, 50 years. But,
sure. Maybe it becomes fine if you don't hold to like hell. Maybe if you hold to universalism, like that actually gets rid of like a lot of the problem of divine hiddenness.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that there's a problem with divine hiddenness, that it seems like it seems like everything in Christianity converges to Catholicism. All of the miracles are Catholic. All the like the good moral fruits, like the good outcomes of like low divorce rates, high happiness it's all Catholic. Church history indicates Catholicism, and then it just has like the worst fucking metaphysics you've ever heard in your entire life. Like,
Yeah. This is also, I was talking to Callie about this a bit ago. Where it's like if I was going to just purely based on like the sort of historical lineage, I'd either be Eastern Orthodox or Catholic, but all of their doctrinal commitments are, I just couldn't.
yeah.
Yeah.
What, you think it's like implausible that you're literally eating the dude every Sunday?
Yeah, that seems like that's
not metaphor. That's literally his blood. You fuck.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, if you like low divorce rates and moral fruit and stuff, Mormonism might be the move, because I think we're lower than Catholics if I remember correctly. But I shouldn't say we. That's LARP, but
sure. Yeah, I don't know. I think that there's I think that intrinsically lowers the probability of Christianity for me. Just that like all the evidential stuff points to Catholicism being true, and then you're just committed to saying like nonsense under divine simplicity. Like you're just committed to saying like, I don't know, man, God's sustaining power is temporally extended, and like God's identical to it, but like God's not temporally extended, and fuck, like you already know all the silly things.
I think if I was going to be a theist, I would just be like some sort of weird perennialist where all of the, or at least a huge portion of like experiences with the divine are veridical, and it's the God thinks there's something valuable about diversity of religious traditions and coming together and being figuring stuff out together. Like I just would not. I don't know. Maybe Ethan Muse will be TFO me and somebody. Have you seen that Capturing Christianity has discovered Ethan Muse?
Oh no.
It's over.
It's over. God damn. That's like the one person who's like, fuck, that dude scares the fuck out of me. If he was ever in my guest request box, I think I'd just run.
He's a smart guy. I haven't talked to him in a very long time. I don't know if he even.
I saw him debate somebody from TikTok, and it was like it went about as
the
well
fine-tuning
as,
one.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. This is unfortunately the problem with just doing like dogmatic atheism, is that eventually somebody's gonna fist the fuck out of you.
Yeah. Not me though. Never me. But no, it is. I think it's an important part of anyone's intellectual development is discovering that there are very, very smart people who believe things that you think are like absolutely crazy. And that's just always going to be true. There's always going to be a bunch of like genius, like, very, very seemingly, like not motivated reasoners who believe things that you think are like crazy nonsense.
Like that's, I don't know. It's hard to dismiss a lot of people who are just like genuinely like epistemically humble individuals, or people like Philip Goff, who weren't even raised religious, and then they just like become religious. Like, do I want to say like Philip Goff is like an idiot? Probably not.
Right. Yeah. No, I think a lot. It's really comfortable to believe that all of the people who disagree with you are very silly and wrong, but unfortunately, or stupid. Unfortunately, it's just never true. Yeah.
I just think I think the problem, or at least like from like a creator standpoint, I think that there becomes like a scaling problem. I think that a lot of maybe there isn't a scaling problem, because the new atheists were able to become mainstream without actually ever engaging with a single argument seriously.
Although I think it would have been worse if the people because they were also engaging with like very prominent apologists, and the prominent apologists were also just saying nothing, and they were like, if anything, worse.
When these are your prominent apologists, dude, we're fucking cooked, dude. It's William Lane Craig.
I had this. Did you watch Joe Schmidt's video on Matt Dillahunty on claims are not evidence? It's gonna be a sore point in this. It's just obviously true. going through the comments on that, I guess I'm very convinced that you don't have to be at all compelling in order to keep your audience. Is all I'll say.
Whoa, wait, listen, not too much not too
No,
much
of
on
course, of
Dialetheism. I
course,
was
you're
recently on the line with him. I'm a big Dialetheism fan,
That's
but I
good,
do
that's
think that he's wrong about this.
Yeah, I just don't understand how you can't think, because it's not just that like claims aren't always evidence, which it's or even that claims are often not. It's claims can't be evidence. Like for example, my claim can't be evidence that I exist, right? Me claiming something, right? Like that can't be true. There's no way. There's no way that's true.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't believe the number of people, because I argue with people in my YouTube comment section about this. I've gone like messages deep. I've had like 3 separate people where it bottoms out with them saying, if you think any claim is evidence, then you must think all claims are evidence. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Why would that possibly
How does
be
that
true?
at all? Yeah.
And I don't know,
very
it's
silly.
like, unfortunately, there's like fun things that you can say. They have like a nice little like parallel structure to them. They sound good rhetorically, and they're just fucking nonsense. And it's like,
there's a lot of fun quips that are just straightforwardly false, right?
Yeah.
Like absence of evidence is an evidence of absence. What are you talking about? Obviously, in some cases, not having evidence for P is evidence against P.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
Yeah, like I don't know,
just-
man, dude. If I'm lacking evidence that I live in like a world where all qualia is like horrible torture.
Right. That's gotta be
That's-
evidence, right?
Yeah,
I guess,
like
yeah. No, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think part of it, this is also theists' fault for the fact that, again, you didn't get good apologists until relatively recently. Like, I'm trying to think of who was like an OG apologist who was giving good arguments, and I think also the problem is that there was just like a pretty solid cutoff between the apologist sphere and the philosophy of religion sphere that isn't the case anymore.
Yeah. I think there's still that cutoff when it comes to atheists, which is why I think that there's definitely going to be some growing pains as people come face to face with like, I don't know, like well-read theists, and then unfortunately the slogans don't work anymore. And they beat the dog fuck out of you. I just think that there's just going to be like growing pains. There's going to be, like really embarrassing debate losses. And the worst part is that this isn't true of all apologists. But like a lot of these people are idiots. You have people like Jay Dyer who doesn't know, who doesn't even know what grounding is.
Oh my god! He thinks grounding is just justification.
Dude, it's an epistemic notion. Grounding is epistemic.
Right. What?
You say grounding like every fucking debate, dude. You don't know what it means? You haven't even read the SVP article? That's fucking insane. It's like egregious.
Maybe the biggest sort of gap between his perception of his intelligence among his fans and his actual intelligence that of any person in the world. Like, just not a smart guy.
Yeah.
I know he still does call-in shows. I should see what he's up to at some point.
Yeah, you should well, if you come in with like too much of a Discord affect, he kicks you.
That's funny. Yeah.
Who the fuck? I think it was like, I'm trying to remember who it was. It was like some Discord person. It might have been Venus. It might have been like Mason, but not Cartesian Mason, other Mason. And they like came in and asked him about his like theory of mind, and then he like recognized the voice and was like,
Brutal.
and then kicked them immediately and was like, I've had my fill. I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Many such cases. That's nice. Yeah.
But
I'll have to normal max. I'll have to be very chill about it.
Yeah, that's good. Well, it's what I appreciate is that there's like a pecking order. Oh yeah, Amdir versus Jay Dyer was very funny. That was a great fucking debate.
A classic, yeah.
Yeah. I don't really like that question. I'm moving on to the next guest. You don't know what the difference is between materialism and idealism? Kicked.
Wow. Powerful.
I know like a lot of really smart people. I don't know why people hold that position, but I know like a lot of smart people that do. Like Synth, for example, holds that the best version of physicalism is identical to the best version of idealism.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'm not exactly sure what's being said there. Is it just that they're both like monist theories, and that the best monist theory is just going to be the best monist theory, or?
I don't know exactly what the claim is, but just that there's like, because probably the best idealist theory is going to add in some like physicalist components to avoid things like solipsism. And then, okay, I'm speculating. I don't know what the fuck they do over in idealism land, but in physicalism land, you'll hold the positions like Russellian physicalism, where you like sprinkle the qualia in somehow. And I okay, to be clear, I'm not convinced that those are the best versions of physicalism, but you know, let's say that they were. That's not like an insane thing to believe. You know, I could see how idealism could converge with something like a Russellian physicalism.
Maybe. Yeah, I haven't read. I mean, the idealists I've read have largely been like the like neo-Hegelian people who are doing very different things from what contemporary like quote unquote analytic idealists are doing. So I guess I'm not sure, but we will see. I'm sure Bernardo Kastrup has a lot to say. What a funny guy.
Sure. I'm gonna read some more supers. Hey Ian, I believe in the God of atheism. My God says he can beat your God up. Fuck. No. That can't be true. I know God is real because I feel it in my heart. No, wait, that's a coronary. I'm having a coronary. BRB, call 911. Do you know the number? That's fun. I like that.
That's good.
Cody, thanks for super chat. Gaunt sounds like they'd be a better designated driver than Jesus. I agree with that. You know, Jesus is getting fucking drunk at his Last Supper. But I mean, who could blame him?
He deserves it.
Yeah. You know, he's getting betrayed, but he's kind of like killing himself too, so... You know, he's like he's in some sense, he's like kind of like playing dolls, right? You know, he's like the sustainer of all of it. So, you know, he's like sustaining the people who are betraying him. It just kind of feels like he's down there like playing with his like Wojaks.
Yeah. His human nature, the person in the Trinity, right? He wasn't doing any of that, but.
Yeah. Well,
I still don't know. Well, no, he's supposed to be, but I still don't understand how any of it works.
I actually don't know. I have no fucking clue. This is like, I think the incarnation is gibberish on its own. I think divine simplicity is gibberish on its own. I don't know how you could possibly combine the Trinity with the incarnation and divine simplicity. I have no clue. Like, there just seems to straightforwardly be some contradiction to the effect of like, you know, Jesus lacks parts. Jesus has parts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, a lot of this is just a holdover from a metaphysics that like nobody really thinks in anymore, in a way that I think makes me hesitant to say anything super strong about it. But maybe not nobody, but that I just don't really have any grasp on, at least.
Well, you know, it's just like Ed Fieser nowadays.
My goat.
Yeah. I mean, like the telos has really been ground out of physics, so. And like kind of brutally, all the like Aristotelian stuff is just at odds with a lot of physics. You know, it's at odds. His model of change is at odds with eternalism. You know, his model of nature as having like telos is at odds with, I don't know, like kind of like all of science. It's just like kind of losing. So it's like, it seems like the position, a lot of the Aristotelian positions are like, they're not shit that you choose for your God. They're like shit that you're like forced to commit yourself to because like, unfortunately it just follows.
Yeah, I think that the version of like, if for some reason it got ruled out, I guess I'm trying to think of how I could come to think divine simplicity is an attractive idea. I think it might be, I'd have to be like really convinced, both like the perennialist explanations for like religious phenomena would have to be ruled out, and also you'd have to like really get me on like one of the Marian apparitions. And even then, I don't know if but like if I had this really, really strong independent reason to believe in Catholicism, then maybe it's just because then the burden just becomes like, I don't know, was it Adelstein, or I think it was Adelstein or Wolin who wrote a thing about virtuous copes recently, and then I think the burden is just to come up with a virtuous cope for all of this, and I think that bar is a lot lower than independent motivation for any of it.
Fuck, dude. Like, I'm actually thinking right now, like, okay, imagine Jesus is right here beside you. You had like a full conversation with him, like it's you have fucking pictures with him, and he's like insisting to you divine simplicity is true.
I still don't know if
I like fuck, dude. I think that I'm hallucinating.
Yeah, I still might find like something like a perennialist, or more you like maybe he's trying to get me to do this because he thinks that I'm going to do something valuable by arguing with people about this or something. Like there's just like basically any explanation that doesn't commit me to divine simplicity is going to be so much more attractive. But
yeah,
I'm sure there's good. Well, I'm not sure there's good copes, but I'm sure there's passable copes.
Well, I've read up on the motivation, because one of the arguments that I've been working on against theism, it's still kind of on the back burner, but I think that you might be able to disprove God by proving that God is committed to divine simplicity. And then so I know like the primary motivation for it is aseity, that God doesn't depend on anything for his existence. Having parts, you would then depend on those parts for your existence. So God doesn't have those. But then there are like good responses to that. Like people will say, well, he could be ase, and then he has like tropes, and actually his tropes depend on him. So he's like composed, but he has tropes. And everything, like he's still ase, it all depends on him. So it seems like there are just good responses to the aseity argument to simplicity, and then kind of all the other arguments are like straight dog shit.
Yeah. I mean, I think the problem is just that when you have a view that's that unattractive for all of these reasons, it's just any view that lets you get out of it is going to be very very interesting, very, very compelling.
Okay, next. I find the premissory prompt utterly untenable due to nominal, unverifiable hermeneutics of undetermined hypostaticization. Have you considered nuh-uh? Wow. This guy has a long career in continental philosophy.
Exciting.
Total analytic victory.
That's right. Every day.
Kieran Dave, thanks so much for Super Chat. This was literally the only worthwhile April 1st meme in 2026.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. Although, unfortunately...
Yeah, I feel like we didn't get a bunch of... Oh, if you have any time, I think I've been thinking a bit about the God would know he exists argument. I already know what the problem is. I think Apollo correctly identified it. The problem is that this is only true if God exists. That you can create like parody arguments. Like Blitz gave me one a while ago. Like, you should, if an all-knowing being believes something, then you should believe that too. Or that like, well, then that thing is true. Like an all-knowing jar of jam would believe that an all-knowing jar of jam exists, therefore you should believe that an all-knowing jar of jam exists. Sure, yeah. Yeah, there's that. I also think that like for the argument to get you should believe, it's going to have to be something like if an all-knowing being would believe something, then you should, like, I think you have reason to deny that, right? Because if, insofar as you think that our world isn't a world with an all-knowing being, then an all-knowing being is going to know things that aren't true in our world. And it's just a totally fine thing to think. So you just have reason to deny that first premise, but...
Sure. Yeah, I think that's probably true. That I think the first premise is only true if that being actually exists.
Yeah. Or that there's things that an all-knowing being would know in a world where an all-knowing being exists that aren't true in our world, right?
Yeah.
Because like you know an all-knowing being can exist in all sorts of worlds, and it's going to have different knowledge in different worlds, right? And in any world where it exists, it's going to know that. But yeah, I think we're on the same page. But yeah,
Sure. Renee thinks we're super chat. Ah, fuck. What were those words? So the crucifixion was a schmurder/schmuicide. Yeah, maybe. Like, it depends on your view of Christ, but like in some sense, kinda, right? Like he sends himself down, intending to die. He allows these people to kill him. It feels like very close to like a death by cop at that point, which I would consider a suicide.
Yeah, I mean that's what's so remarkable about his sacrifice. It wouldn't be a sacrifice if he didn't, or at least it wouldn't be as big of a sacrifice if he didn't go down knowing it was going to happen.
Yeah, he says, "Listen up, liberals," and he blows his brains out with like advanced firearm technology.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, we're gonna find the remains of the other Messiah who did that. There's gonna be no explanation for how this like first century Palestinian guy had like a cult 1911 or something. Cult 1911. What's my problem? Yeah.
Colt. Wait.
It was just the wrong. It's yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wrong rant. I was making fun of myself for misspeaking.
Wait, Colt 1911 seems like a real thing.
Did I? Oh, dude, am I a LARPer? Let's
No,
see.
Colt, yeah. Colt 1911.
Oh no, yeah, I'm totally. Oh man, somebody in the chat got me, dude. That's very funny.
Damn, brutal. You're
Anyway,
a LARPer about philosophy and a LARPer about guns.
Yeah.
You aren't even
also,
like a yeah.
About the Apollo conversation, was the central disagreement about Dialetheism just that it seems like you think that what it means to be thinking about something just has to be not thinking about all these other things, right?
Well, it's just not clear to me that what you're doing there. It's not clear to me that there's like a distinct thought there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that you can't have a distinct thought if it's not thinking about all these other things.
Yeah, it seems like what it means for something to be about a specific thing is that that thing is like differentiated from every other thing. Otherwise, it's like maybe I'd apply like a standard because people do have incoherent. Fuck, I'm like, this is brutal. People have incoherent thoughts all of the time, but I think in order to have coherent thoughts, it needs to be clearly distinguished from everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's at least how I like. It's hard for me, at least, to imagine like thinking about the cat on the mat and also thinking about the cat not on the mat, right? In fact, I don't know if I can do that, but it seems like what you want to say is that it's a conceptual truth about thinking, right? About for something to be a thought, it just has to be the sort of thing that isn't, also a thought about its negation or something like that.
Yeah.
And that seems to just, I guess, beg the question. Well, I guess the Dialetheist might be able to accept that, right? And just say that we can't think about Dialetheia in that sense. Well, they're going to agree that we can't think about Dialetheia in that sense, just because it's stipulated that you can't, like in the relevant sense of thinking, you can think about it. So, but I don't know.
I guess if we took like thinking to be like the phenomenal state, like, I don't know, that's just not something that's within the capacity of me thinking in the sense of the phenomenal state.
Yeah, I mean, that depends on, some people want to deny cognitive phenomenology, that there's like something it's like to.
Okay, but sounds good. That is something I was thinking about. Maybe you'd maybe you'd have something to say about this. But I was talking to like a coworker at some point, and I was like walking him through Mary's room, and it seems like maybe like what it's like to see blue is propositional, but just not all propositions can be expressed in words. Like in my mind, if I like think the proposition blue looks like, and then I insert like in my mind the color blue and I like picture it in my mind, it seems like there's like a proposition there, but I couldn't like express it in words.
Yeah, I think at least most people are going to want to say that you can have thoughts without, or you can like have your mental content can be expressed. You can have, you know, proposition in your head without being able to express it, right? Like, I mean, just trivially because, like, you know, some people can't speak or whatever, or, you know, but also because it seems like, or at least some people might want to say, like, somebody raised without language or didn't have the capacity to still thinks, for example, like there's a banana over there, right? Or still knows that. Maybe knows that is a better example, right? Because knowledge is supposed to be beliefs, and, you know, beliefs are supposed to be propositional. Like, there's also some worries that people have about talking about animals. Like, it seems like we want to say that animals have like knowledge of certain things, but there's weird stuff there. But yeah, I think most people want to say that, you know, you can for sure have you can have knowledge or know some proposition without being able to put words to it.
Well, just that, like, with respect to Mary's room, I think the relevance is that, you know, this is like simply not the sort of knowledge that could be written down in a book for Mary. That there's like some knowledge that it's not even like an epistemic problem, but like linguistically, you just cannot express these specific truths, even though you yourself can know them, and it like kind of doesn't matter who you are. I don't know. I hear arguments related to Mary's room, and it's like people have been saying that all like physical facts are like third person, whereas like qualitative experience is like first person. And I don't know. Do you know if there's like an argument in the literature for that? That seems like, I just don't know why I would commit myself to that.
To all physical facts being third person?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, part of that is just the fact that like physical is ill-defined in the way that a lot of people use it. I'm not familiar with any. I mean, in some sense, like the physicalist certainly wants to deny that insofar as they think there are first-person facts and they think that all the facts are physical, they're going to want to deny that all the physical facts are third-person, right?
Sure.
So that's contested. I don't know what the arguments are for that, other than just like sort of giving, just sort of conceptual analysis debate. So like, you know, you'll give the conceptual analysis and someone will either give some counterexample or, you know, something like that.
Sure.
But yeah, off the top of my head, I don't know if there's any arguments that get you there beyond stipulating it, but
sure. Another thing, maybe, okay, I know you've like read way deeper into this literature than I have. Let's say I was like a dualist, and I think that we're in Mary's room, and then Mary has access to like all of the physical and non-physical facts. Like that doesn't really seem to solve the problem. I'm not really sure. Maybe I think I might be missing something about the argument itself.
Well,
but
I think
I'm just not sure how moving positions
that,
fixes it.
I think what they want to say is that when we think about so the point of Mary's room is that we can think about all of the physical facts, right? All the facts about the physics of seeing color and stuff, and we think that there's it's not supposed to. There's a move that they're going to want to say is illegitimate there, that the physicalist is not supposed to be able to take, which is just that one of the physical facts is what it's like to experience it, whereas the dualist is just totally allowed to make that move, right? They're allowed to say that one of the non-physical facts is what it's like to see blue. So insofar as she knows all of the non-physical facts, she knows what it's like to see blue, because what it's like to see blue is or I think it's read in the original that you know is a non-physical fact. So I think that's what people would want to say. The dualist would want to say, or the dualist wants to say there.
Sure. Well, okay. I guess like the obvious critique of that is that I'm not sure why I wouldn't say that what it's like to see blue isn't like a physical fact.
Yeah, there it becomes really hard to identify what it is, right? Like the question becomes like, okay, which physical fact is it? Because it's not, facts about the way that the light hits the iris or whatever, or how the neurons fire.
Sure. Like
right?
what in physics does it reduce to is the question.
Yeah, it'd be something like that, right? It'd be you could go through like candidates, and it's going to be like the dualist is going to think like, okay, well, none of these are what it's like, right? It's not the neurons firing. It's what it's like is what it's like. It's the thing that happens when you're in that situation. Yeah.
If you go to like the dualist's answer and they say, well, what blue is, the what it's like, well, that reduces to when like the blue part of the soul gets like really excited. Does that fix the problem? Maybe it does.
This is the thing
this
is the thing that people want to argue about, right? Is that like a lot of people will accuse dualists of like taking this kind of easy way out where they don't have to specify anything, and so they don't have these kinds of commitments. But when you try to specify these things, you might run into similar problems. But that just depends on the model of dualism, right? Like if you just think there are these things that are qualia, which are just the what it's likeness of certain states or whatever, to say that what it's like reduces to the what it's likeness doesn't seem like, I guess, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Where's your sportsmanship though? What the fuck?
True.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I think that clears up some thoughts that I've been having about Fill of Mind. It clears up my own Fill of Mind conclusions. I really don't want to read Fill of Mind. Fuck.
Me neither. It's tough.
Why'd you do it? What have you been reading lately?
Recently, it's been a lot of sort of econ stuff, and I also read. I mentioned this earlier while you were glitching out, but I read the Plantinga's paper on divine simplicity. Implying God's a property, which is fun. And then a bunch of stuff, some politics stuff, and then some. So there's this view called quantifier variance. The big guy for that is a guy named Eli Hirsch. And I've been reading some of the debate there. The idea is just that there's these equally good rules for using, or like ways of understanding quantifiers. The meaning of quantifiers is like sort of ambiguous in this way, and you can have these different meanings while the quantifier still plays the same inferential role. And so I've been reading. There's debate over these collapse theorems, and actually there's this guy named Kian Dor who wrote one of the big papers on the collapse theorems. And the idea is that there's a whole thing, but I was able to see Kian Dor give a talk recently. Unfortunately, not on any of the stuff he does that I care about, but it was still good nonetheless.
Too bad.
But
Damn.
yeah, I've been trying to figure that out, and there's like there's some overlap with the way that Putnam talks about conceptual relativity, and it's. I mean, the reason I'm interested is because a lot of this stems from Carnap's positions in empiricism, semantics, and ontology. Am I getting that order right? But
that sounds about right. Although
yes, I was right. Yeah. And yeah. So yeah. There's that is I've been reading a bit of that, but I don't have worked out thoughts. Although I know Amy Thomason interacts with. Well, she talks about Hirsch's stuff, sort of, and Thomason isn't a Carnapian, but it's kind of a Carnapian, but isn't a quantifier variantist, or however you would make that into an ist or ism, but does overlap somewhat, and so I've been reading a little bit of Thomason on that. But yeah,
sure. Yeah. Wait. Which book specifically?
I've been reading what she has to say in Easy Ontology.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then she's also included in this. I think it's in Ontology After Carnap. Let me. Yes, that's the title. I think she's in that. I'm forgetting. This was a couple of weeks ago. I'm forgetting where I read it, but yeah.
Sure. Okay. Do you think Gosh, I don't know if this is within your like area of like economics interest, but like, do you think we're as cooked as all the economists are saying we are with respect to like the oil prices?
Yeah, I think things are pretty. I mean, yeah, basically everyone agrees that energy shocks like this are really bad, and also there's like, because Trump is like just sort of a moron who nobody trusts. It's really hard for him to shore up expectations, and yeah, I think things are. I think it's pretty bad. I mean, hopefully things cool down, but if we continue, like even if we do like limit exports, it's just I don't think anybody really thinks that there's a path out of this that isn't either things get back to normal really, really quick, and it's just, you know, like genuinely not. Well, even then, it's you know, still going to be a problem. But if things don't get back to the way they were very, very quick, things are going to be pretty bad. But
sure. I mean, I guess that makes sense. I'm interested to see how much longer the markets will continue to respond to like tweets. Because
yeah, it's interesting because like it does seem like Trump is kind of. I mean, you can track when he makes what statements around what, like when the markets open and close, and it seems like it's at least part of why he's behaving in the way that he is, which is pretty bad.
Listen,
like,
you know, I wouldn't want to be competing in those markets. That's for damn sure. I think you'd have to be like profoundly stupid to be entering into like a betting market that the dude who's like maybe probably doing insider trading is doing insider trading in. Like, yeah, just seems like you're guaranteed to lose.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. It's cool that they've just made insider trading legal now, that you can just bet on Kalshi and there's no consequences for anybody. That's great. I wish I was in a position where I could take advantage of that. Oh man.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't have like super well worked out like thoughts beyond that because I haven't read anything other than like pretty mainstream news. But like basically everybody agrees it's gonna be bad. Like oil shocks are really bad, and you know might cause stagflation depending on how central banks respond. And it's a big problem. It's less of a problem for us than it is for like Asia and Europe, though. But it's still a big problem.
Okay. Sure. That makes sense. Let me read. I think I have one last super, and then I have my interview. I'm being fucking evil. Big thanks to you.
Interviewed by?
It's like a dude who's making like a film. And he's like interviewing like a lot of like the atheists. Like he interviewed like Dr. Blitz.
Oh, cool.
And he interviewed I think like Erica from Gutsick Gibbon and like some of the other atheists.
That's chillin'.
Seabar, thanks for the super chat. Big thanks to you, Ian. Sometimes when life or the state of the world feels heavy, I can watch you, Blitz, or Justin, and just relax, be entertained, and learn things. Thanks for the great content. I'm really glad that I can provide that for you. You know, it wasn't. I think. Well, it depends who you are. I think that there was like a lot of stuff that was like very educational in this stream. But anyway, okay. I have Twitch people. Warmaha, thanks so much for the gifted sub. I appreciate it. All right. Love all of you. I'll see you all later.
Love you, man. Bye.
Yep. Hey, thanks for staying.